Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. It is great to be with you. Thanks for tuning in to us. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online. ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you're going to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything, but if you do, go back, get caught up at your leisure, as we'll post all 3 hours both to iTunes as well as Apple Podcasts. You can find them there. Eventually, they work their way over to Spotify. You can email the program if you like. It's jcs at 979espnradio.com. On Twitter, it's at jcameronshow. Hello, YouTubers. How's everybody doing? I have a feeling you're tired. A lot of you, myself included, we're all a little tired. It was a momentous day that turned into a night that turned into another day, which is going to turn into another day. So as it pertains to the election, there'll be some time left to get this all figured out, which means, constant checking in. I got it. Make some time for yourself, though. Make some time to, not be immersed solely in that thing. That's my only piece of advice, right? Keep your sanity. Do something with your dog, your significant other, your kids.
Should have ordered it differently.
I'm going to walk. I don't know where your head's at. I'm like, go play ball with your dog. Go do something.
Just talking about priority list,
Oh, well, it just depends, right? You spend every waking second with your significant other. Sometimes you need a relief. Just go with your dog. Go with your dog. Because what happens right now is that a lot of people in the household, when they do talk to their significant other, they're talking about the election. One way or the other, good or bad, whatever side of the fence you're on there, that's what happens. I've been going to the driving range at Killearn Country Club lately, Tom.
There you go. That's a good way. And the weather has been nice.
It's been perfect. We get done with the show. There's very little light anymore. But if we do, like yesterday was Seminole Headlines, so I had plenty of time. I found a listener to the program. Dudley, if you're out there, I'll doff the cap to you. I was out, I think it was number 12. And nobody out there. It was beautiful. It was getting late. Sun was going down. And I was having a good round, actually playing pretty well, and ran into this gentleman. And he said, Jeff Cameron? I said, yes, sir. He goes, I thought that was you because he told me I could play through. And he heard me say thank you, and he recognized the voice. And then we began to talk a little bit. Apparently, he's been listening since all the way back to the morning show days. And he said, what are you out here for? I said, I'm keeping my sanity. I'm not going to solely focus on the election like everybody else is now. I just can't do the minute-by-minute, second-by-second thing. I can't do that. And he said, me neither, man. I just decided to get out of the house. He said, my wife's nuts right now. I said, my wife's nuts right now, too. I'm taking it out to the course. So good on you, Dudley.
There's a lot of people who feel the anxiety, more probably angry people than not angry people, because everybody's always angry about something. Isn't that the life of somebody on a social media platform?
That is correct.
So we can all be angry at the same thing together, and I have a candidate. Just a little short thing.
War daddies.
See?
I'm not even angry at him anymore.
But now we're all like, geez, that guy.
Man.
And we come back together as an old brethren. There we are, right there. Listen to this guy.
War daddies.
Nope. Not anymore.
No, he's got along with him. He, didn't do a good job and had to be let go, but I got along with him just fine. We used to have pleasant conversations off the air when I would do my interviews with him.
Seemed nice enough.
I think that's
on the
accurate.
Surface.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. I don't know.
Probably on the surface, at least, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm not there at his house. I don't know how he is, but I don't. And I've never worked with him. So other than the interviews,
couldn't have been a good place to work the last couple of years anyway.
No.
What with the outside forces pushing in.
Everything about everything was terrible. You had prior to that, so
the need for details. It's a lot of stuff.
But where do we sit here today? Well, I'll tell you this. Yesterday's release of the depth chart seems to suggest that Tamorrion Terry's going to play on Saturday, everybody. Okay. That's significant news. We'll see. Not guaranteed, but his name was there. I saw it. They didn't list him last week. So or the week before, I would suggest that my man is going to play. I think it's important. We don't appear to have any other receivers that can play even a little bit. So we're going to need him to play as the lone guy on this group or that segment group that seems to be able to play.
Well, and obviously what he does is he attracts eyeballs to where he's running, which means that if you want to run the football scramble, your scramble rules, you'll have more lanes to do so. You can be more creative underneath. because they can't just camp out underneath because there's nobody else down the field that's a threat? Yeah.
Have you seen the staggeringly poor defensive metrics for Pitt against the pass?
No, I haven't. All I've heard this week and seen is, the TFLs and the sack count.
Dominant. They got 38 sacks, I think. They are as good as any team in the country against the run. What that doesn't tell you is how awful they are against the pass. They can't cover anybody. One of their corners is giving up 25 yards a catch.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So here's the quandary we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Yeah, you got a quarterback that doesn't really throw the ball that well as a drop-back passer. And he becomes effective as a passer only after he sets it up by running the football, which Pitt absolutely shuts down. At the same time, doesn't appear like Pitt is interested, and they also had their best player in the secondary at safety opt out for the year. Good timing. Good choice, young man. You go ready yourself for your NFL future. So he leaves. That secondary, which was already porous, already poor, is now losing its best defender. The others haven't covered anybody all season long. And yet we really don't throw the ball all that well when you know it's coming. Would you just, if Terrain and Terry plays, would you just disregard what we are and solely focus on what they're not and decide to just throw it up in the general area of Tamora and Terry? Because it would seem to me that might work. Pitt's metrics are terrible.
It could. It'll be interesting to see. So if you've got a lot of running game stats in your favor and you've got a lot of quarterback sacks and you're going against a quarterback that can break the pocket and run and he has the vision with the best of them, at least at the college level, that specific part of the game. You might not be able to run LaDamian Webb and Lawrence Toafili on first down, but you could call some perimeter quarterback runs, and maybe you have some success there, rather than going into the game and conceding, I've just got to chuck it up. The other thing that I'd consider, too, is to look at Pitt in the first quarter of this game. How invested are they? They're already a woeful disappointment. One of their best players leaves the team. That means there has to be some sort of unrest. I don't think it's an opt-out once you get into November. I think it's almost like bowl season. Yeah. What am I playing for? Mm-hmm. It's not. It's more of that kind of opt-out than it is a COVID opt-out. So what kind of discord do you have when you got on the plane? How motivated were you to play here in Tallahassee? It's going to be really interesting because we're Jekyll and Hyde, and they might not care.
Yeah, I that may be true. I think that one benefit to Florida State here, or in Florida State's hands, if you will, is the fact that you have what looks to be a healthy, rested Jordan Travis, a group that needed that week off, a group that is playing so many young people that they can't afford, meaning those young people, those guys that are getting starts, those freshmen that are playing for next year, and those battles, those position battles, they can't really afford not to care. Everything you do right now is being very closely scrutinized and monitored for next season. This season doesn't really portend of any great shakes, but we're fighting for jobs out here. And playing time is being awarded or taken away based on what we're seeing game to game. That is true. We've noticed that. See the fact that Brendan Gant's going to get more time this week as well when you look at that depth chart, okay? So there's a lot of things happening. This staff has shown, and this is the only thing you can do when you feel like not everybody's bought in, especially veteran players. You can reward and take away playing time. That is really the only thing you can do. And by the way, if you've got a veteran presence that doesn't want to play hard, well then what the hell? Get him off the field and start the freshman. You're going to lose anyhow. I mean, you're not going to beat Clemson. You've already lost 4 times this year. You're not on your way to any incredible bowl game.
Tell them to have a good day.
Yeah,
APR penalties are gone for 2 years.
Yeah,
beautiful.
You can tell them to have a good day if you want. Right. But you got to be careful about that, because if you tell a bunch of guys that are respected in the locker room and like to take off, then that affects the younger players, and they feel like that you'll turn your back on them when the going gets tough. So they're dancing a little bit on eggshells. It's kind of difficult. One thing to say, though, you can certainly reward playing time. Film is film. People can see who's playing hard and who's not. People know who's running hard and making plays, and those who have not. But I think Florida State will be motivated to play well in this game, and I think Pitt is in a touchy spot here. You're right. That season has not gone well. They've suffered injuries. Their 2 best players, their safety and their quarterback. The quarterback, we don't know if he's going to play or not. If he doesn't, they cannot throw the ball. And all they did was throw the ball prior to the injury.
Well, and you're looking at 2 1-point losses to Boston College and NC State, and then a blowout at the hands of Notre Dame, too. That's the sequence. They've lost 4 in a row, 2 of them by a point, 1 they get blown out, and that's the most recent game. I mean, all indicators point to real problems. Like real problems to care and to show up. I wish this was a nooner and not a 4 o'clock kick. The earlier, the better for us, for them to get or to not be motivated. But to be clear, exactly, I was talking about Pitt not being motivated. I think we will.
No, I know you were.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, they're not motivated. I think we will be motivated. Well, what you were saying is we've been wildly inconsistent.
Right.
And
We're Jekyll and Hyde.
What I was saying is, look, I think that in a year where we can't predict whether or not they're going to be or not be, I think we will be. And I think Pitt, accurately described by yourself, is probably questionably motivated. We won't be that. A lot of young guys are playing.
So I watched a feature on War Chant TV, which is what will be on Saturday for the pregame show starting at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Ira and one of Pitt's, I think it's the founder and administrator, like the Gene Williams of their site.
Yeah.
Publisher is the term I was looking for. They're doing about a half-an-hour video talking about FSU and Pitt, the state of the 2 programs, so the other fan bases can kind of see. And in the Pitt guy's voice is the thing. It's a sound that I hear on this show, and I've heard it for the last 3 years. That sound when you're trying to explain why you suck explain why year after year you disappoint, even when this was supposed to be the year, and you're like, wow, this one isn't the year either. And there's that thing in your voice as you have to go through the painstaking reasons why you haven't lived up to the potential again. That was all throughout the Pitt guy's voice. That's what he's watched this year.
Unfortunately, it was all in the Louisville guy's voice, too. And how bitterly disappointing they were before they beat our ass senseless.
That's true. That's a fair point. But if you're looking at indicators entering the game, this one is even stronger than the Louisville situation. It's also played here. And I'm betting on, this is a thought I had earlier in the week, I think we might be okay at home when it comes to the intensity and the details. And we might feed off of that a little bit more than on the road. I don't know that we're all that mature to be on the road these days.
Tom, let me take you down memory lane here for you old people out there, and I would include myself, I guess, increasingly so on that list. I don't remember the 1976 campaign for Pitt. I was 5. We had just moved back from Holland. But they did go 12-0 and win the national championship. And here's the thing about them that you'll notice. They were a dominant program. They dominated college football. The most significant victory in Florida State history became the win against Pitt in back in 1980. That team, by the way, that Pitt team went 11-1. So it was significant. But here you go. These are the seasons for Pitt, and I'll bring this up for a reason, and then you'll see where I'm going. It's a toughie. 12-0, 9-2, 8-4, 11-1, 11-1, 11-1, Sugar Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Fiesta Bowl. Okay, you see where I'm going? Dominant program, ranked number 1, number 2, number 7, number 8, number 4, number 1, number 2. That's them. 70s rolling on into the 80s. 11-1, 11-1, 9-3, 9-3. Oh, I mean,
Yep.
Living high on the hog.
Them in West Virginia, they had the classic wars.
Oh, yeah. Jimbo could recite statistics of every one of those games.
To the yard.
Oddly. But they, whether it was Green at linebacker, Tony Dorsett at running back, obviously Dan Marino at quarterback, they would just churn out the superstars that went on to the NFL.
Mark May.
Was a really good NFL
really
player.
good.
Really good. Yeah, he was really good. So anyhow, that's all these things. And then hard times. People began to see a way out of the state of Pennsylvania. They thought to themselves, I don't need to go to Pennsylvania. They're playing a mighty fine brand of football in the South where the sun shines. I don't have to be cold all the time. Coal mines suck. This isn't a lot of fun. That city is ugly. The steel industry sucks. This is all very, very difficult.
Reminds me of South Bend.
Right. Dreary. I'm out of here. And you see 3-7 and 5-5 and 6-4 and 6-5 and 8-4 banner year, followed by 3-7, 6-5, 3-9, 3-8, 3-8, 2-9.
Where are we in time?
Oh, buddy. Let me take you on in from the 80s to the 90s.
Oh, that's the 80s. The rest
where
of the
it
80s.
all starts to fall to pieces. 1990, 3-7. 6-5, 3-9, 3-8, 3-8, 2-9, 4-7, 6-6, 2-9, 5-7, 7-5, 7-5, 9-4. A little uptick. They won the Insight Bowl. Finished the year number 19 in the country. 8-5, 8-5, 5-6, 6-6, 5-7. Had a tough loss in 2008 in that their Sun Bowl after a 9-4 campaign. Then they went to the Meineke Car Care Bowl, big year in 2010. A little 10-3 action. Ooh. Followed by 6-7, 6-7, 7-6, 6-7, 6-7, 8-5, 6-7, 5-7, 7-7. So why do
Sevens
I do
are
that?
wild. That's why.
Why do I do that, everybody? That's right. Misery loves company. We've only been bad for a few years, 4 years or so. They have sucked or been wholly average for the better part of 30 years. 30 years trying to climb out of that hole. 30 long years.
Passed over.
At even the simplest levels, the lowest levels of significance. A banner 6-7 ACC campaign in 2014 saw them lose in the Armed Forces Bowl. A big 8-5 season saw them lose in the Military Bowl. Thought they had turned it around again with a 7-6 campaign, only to fall in that famed 2016 Pinstripe Bowl.
My God, with the America Bowls.
Then they bounced back with a solid 7-7 season after finishing sub 500 the year before. And so 2018, that was their time. But alas, a loss in the Sun Bowl. It just lets you know. I didn't do that to be mean to Pitt. But, you
sure?
It's been a toughie. 1915 was a good year. 1929 was a really good season. They were very good in 1936. It's the Jeff Cameron Show. 97.9 ESPN Radio. You know, I mentioned Brendan Gant. Mike Norvell said he's excited and pleased as to where his game is. Good. This became an exploratory mission here. The season did upon falling to 2-4. You got to find guys that are younger that you can develop and that you believe can be a part of the solution. And for a while there, few and far between. Not a lot of guys that you feel great about moving forward, but he's one. Brendan Gant, just a sophomore. I like him. And, he makes mistakes, but he makes them full speed, and he seems to have a good head for the game.
Yeah, well, if you're in a position to make a play, that means you're doing something right. And that's, I think, what most people would think about when 44 pops into their mind of the defense. They see the Notre Dame game where he's got a chance, a couple of TFLs, maybe 3 or 4 by the end of the game, and he makes none of them. But the hard part is getting there.
Yeah,
you can be taught to finish maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, he'll get better. The speed, things slow down the more you play. That's a tough part.
It's the same thing for Steven Dix Jr., which, there are a lot of times he's in position. You just got to finish the play and trust it. But I will say the performance last week was a little concerning because of the way that we didn't get off of blocks, didn't look like we wanted to be off of blocks.
Emmett Rice, the exception.
Emmett Rice is the absolute exception. And we said that right away last Monday, that his effort was noteworthy, actually very noteworthy, and it ended up saving us 4 points because of the 15-yard penalty on the chop block, first and goal from inside the 1.
Would you say that in a year of really disappointing games on defense, it's really hard to identify specifically one guy or two guys that really have left you just absolutely speechless or frustrated beyond reason? But, to me, I would say disappointing for this year has been the fact that Jaleel McRae doesn't really appear to be much of an answer.
In the short term. It could be a developmental thing. I agree. I know. I want to punch the button, too, and just say, nope, not going to work, nope, not going to work. But when you've had no development, even if you're a younger kid, and you're only finally starting to get development, then maybe something can come of it. But
I sure hope so.
We're also assuming these guys are developers and they're good at what they do.
He's going to be, I think we really, really like our linebacking coach. Coach Marv is a smart guy. I think he's an up-and-coming coach, but the material he's trying to mold is got to be improved. I thought Jaleel McRae had a real chance to be something, but we'll see. But he's going to be a junior next year, Tom, at some point.
Well, the worst thing that could happen to a position coach this year is Alex Atkins, because the material he had to mold is considered to be pretty bad, and yet here they are molding. But a great test for them this weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I will say, the biggest thing the biggest feather in his cap is that they're getting a pretty consistent level of play out of Bavion Johnson, who I'd pretty much given up on. He's playing pretty well, actually. Not great, but he's playing pretty well. Listen, Devontae Love-Taylor, you'd love to see him come back. I don't know that he will, but he might. Maurice Smith, obviously, and Darius Washington. And
hopefully he plays this weekend at left.
It'd be nice. So, yeah, you have seen some things there. There's some things to get excited about with that. But, defensively is where all of our attention turns to, where we're kind of like, man, really, just again with this? Every week.
And the thing I wonder about with this team is how, we already know that mentally they're not the strongest group, and you're trying to build them back up. But let's just say they make the play in the backfield on Hawkins, and there isn't a breakdown on backside contained by Denton Janarius.
They get them off the field, and you go up 14-0.
Right.
Yeah, how's the game different? Does Louisville lay down?
If Cunningham misses, because he will, he just didn't because he had all day. When it's Brownlee, Tutu Atwell, and bad quarterbacks miss throws. We've seen that. Wake Forest missed a key throw here a couple of years ago, Willie's first season, where they had a guy open right down the middle of the field like it was the Auburn game in the national championship, missed him. Next thing you know, by the time they get the ball next with decent field position, the Avalanche is on, and the game's completely different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is it a situation where we're so fragile mentally that we might come to life if somebody else picks them up? I think that's kind of how the Jacksonville State thing happened, the rally in that game. Jordan Travis comes in the game. He lights the world on fire offensively, 5 straight touchdown drives on offense, right? And then look at the defense. It's like Jordan Travis somehow elevated the way they play.
Oh, certainly they do because A, you're flipping field position. B, you're putting points on the board. It changes the way the other offense has to play. C, you're getting rested on the sideline every time the offense puts together a drive. And they don't feel like they have to shut anybody out. They can play a little bit looser. You're right. Jordan Travis has been the salve here, man, for the wound. There's no doubt. But he's fragile. I mean, he gets hurt. He's a smaller guy. He's limited. But what he does do well, he does exceptionally well, which opens things up. And maybe the reality is last week, and I know it's kind of like what you were saying earlier, where you end up making a lot of excuses, but there's no getting around the fragility of the team, and maybe they knew going in he was not healthy. I mean, clearly, it didn't take much for him to re-aggravate the injury, and if they knew it and then they saw it, they pretty well knew that game they were cooked.
Which is why, even though on Monday he was available and Coach Norvell said he's 100%, I'm still going to watch that first hit and how he goes into it. Does he lead with the shoulder that's hurt? I'm not sold. Does an injury like that affects him a week out after North Carolina magically get better with 1 week, or is it going to be a pain tolerance thing moving forward? And the way he runs is going to tell us that story.
Shoot him up, baby.
I agree.
I mean, it's not your throwing arm. Shoot it up.
And if he can't,
dangling.
And if he can't, get him off the field.
Right. No, because he's of no use to you at that point, as we saw.
Given Pitt's propensity to give up throws down the field, Chubba, all the more reason to put him in that situation. Yes.
I failed at the beginning of the show. Sometimes that happens. I get distracted. But it doesn't mean I don't love Phone Hero. That's not what that means. In fact, I love Phone Hero so much I want to circle back and tell them that all guests appear via the Phone Hero hotline. Phone Hero specializing in iPhone and iPad repair. 2 locations, 2915 Cary Forest Parkway, 833 West Gain Street. Online, PhoneHeroTLH.com. Love you, Phone Hero.
5 out of 4 dentists recommend Phone
Hero.
That's right.
That's true. We should start polling plastic surgeons and their affinity for Phone Hero. I think it'd be high. It's Jeff Cameron Show. I'm mentally preparing myself for the onslaught of Antonio Brown has been working hard to gain personal growth in his time away from the NFL stories. They're going to be bountiful, Tom.
Yeah, there was one tweet I saw today from the guy who works for the Buccaneers website, state-sponsored media kind of stuff, where Antonio Brown on Tom Brady, the best leader in the world. It's like, that's it. That's the tweet. It's basically Antonio extolling the virtues of Tom Brady. And I was like, all right, you're going to get muted for a little while, sir.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Cannot do it.
I think it would be if you really wanted to have some fun with it and test it, and it could help you long term, but really hurt you in the short term. If you truly, as an organization and as a team, wanted to find out where his head's at, start him whenever he's first available. Maybe this New Orleans game, I guess.
Yep.
And don't give him a single target, not one. Have him be the decoy for the entire game and or have to block. And then never throw to him. And then after the game, if the Bucs win, make sure you run up. What a game. Good job, Antonio. Run off, act like nothing happened. Like, hey, that's what you're here to do, buddy. We're going to use you as a decoy and a blocker. Maybe an occasional end around or something.
And guess what? Fournette to the flats. Yeah. Wide open.
Wide open all day.
They're looking at Evans and Godwin and Brown over the top.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we brought you in for.
Fournette in the flats, wide open.
It's looking like, if I were to project your receptions, 4, 5, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Gronk's going to block and release.
For the year.
He's blocking, now he's releasing, and he's wide open. Little 3-yard throw, gain of 12. Nobody's on the screen.
Yeah, it's it'd be fun to see.
I'm excited to do the Scuttlebucks tomorrow, though, because the game plan against the Giants, there's so much to parse there with the Mickens thing. They're clearly installing for Antonio Brown, so what is the offense going to look like when it's time that everybody's healthy? Is it going to be the Bruce offense? Are they going to have sets where Antonio's not on the field when Godwin is, and vice versa? Are they going to be on the field at the same time? It's fascinating where you're going to put all these guys and how you're going to make it work.
Yeah, they've well, listen, I will just say this. I mean, as much as we didn't like the acquisition, and for the obvious reasons, if you think about a healthy offense, meaning that you have your full allotment of receivers, and Godwin is right, and Evans is finally right, and then you bring in Antonio Brown, and let's just say he's focused and right and in great shape and ready to play, and he becomes some semblance of what he was, right? When, like, Scotty Miller is your fourth, and you have Gronk and Brate, yeah, it's an offense that is going to be – you're going to get some one-on-ones.
Well, there's one thing I didn't say last week, too. The logic, I think, from the Bucs was not only do we acquire them, Tampa Bay, but that means Seattle doesn't get him. That means Green Bay doesn't get him, or somebody else that's contending. New Orleans certainly could use the services of one Antonio Brown with a Michael Thomas situation.
They've already got a headache situation, and I don't think they would have wanted to bring in another one, but yeah.
I think they would, and here's why. They went and got Quan Alexander from the 49ers at the deadline. If you look at their cap commitments for next year, New Orleans is totally screwed because the cap is either going to stay flat or go down. They're selling out for this year. I think that there is hell to pay for them under the cap next year. They're going to have a huge purge.
Yeah, well, I don't know why you wouldn't do it anyhow, because in the sense that this is clearly Drew Brees' last hurrah. I mean, he doesn't have anything left really in the tank most weeks when you watch him, and everything's a check down. So, yeah, I guess you're right in that sense. I just don't know. I mean, the headache that they've had with Michael Thompson, that's golly. I mean, I know.
Is out of nowhere.
It really did come out of nowhere.
He was hurt, and then they were like, oh, there's all this other stuff too?
Which was really strange. Here's a cool quote. I'm just scratching the surface on where I can go, where I can be, what I can do. That's what's exciting for me. I'm just beginning. Joe Burrow has never lacked confidence. My man, he was asked about the first 8 games of his pro career, and he said, I'm pleased. I'm just getting started. Now, they're 2-5-1, but they've had no semblance of a running game. And he is third in the NFL with 2,272 passing yards heading into Week 9. He is on pace to beat Andrew Luck's rookie record in 2012. Now, again, they do have to throw the ball all the time, and as evidence of that, he leads the league in pass attempts.
Yeah.
But he also leads the league in completions, and he's been very, very efficient. I mean, he's 13th in the NFL in completion percentage. And he's over expectations by all projected numbers.
So get this, though. This is how much the game has changed. You just said he's 13th in football in completion percentage. He's at 67%. It used to be that 65 to 66% was the best you could do for the career. Remember, Kurt Warner and Brad Johnson were back and forth.
Everybody threw the ball down the field, and that's a much more high-risk throw. And fewer, obviously, you'd watch guys go 23 of 33 and 289 yards and 3 touchdowns with a pick, and you'd go, that was a really good day at the office,
But he's closer to league average at better than 2/3 completion percentage.
Yeah, that's that. Let me double check that, because what I'm reading here now when I clicked on it is third in the NFL with passing yards heading into Week 9. On pace to beat Andrew Luck's record, Burrow leads the league in passing attempts and completions, but has remained efficient despite the high volume. Burrow is ranked 13th in the NFL in completion percentage over expectation.
Over expectation.
Yeah, I can't, because when you said 67%, I thought I'm not looking at something correctly here. Yeah, that's over expectation. But he was 26 of 37 last week, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks, 31-20 win over the Titans. And they really, again, this is something that they had a backup offensive lineman having to play. They haven't had really anything that they could count on in the run game. It's, look, it's crazy how comfortable Cincinnati's been in trusting him to basically be the offense.
Okay, so I'm looking it up on the fly right now. He's still way down the list. No, he's 14th in football at 67%.
Wow.
So Breeze is number 1, as you might imagine, given the distance of the throws, at 73.1%. Bridgewater is number 2 at 71.6. Then Russell Wilson at 71.5.
Well, they rely on Bridgewater to do the whole. Not Bridgewater. Russell Wilson do everything there, and he's got that percentage. It's crazy.
Derek Carr at 71.1 and Fitzpatrick at 70.1. So you've got 5 quarterbacks north of 70% for the season. I know Fitzpatrick's numbers will dwindle as he doesn't play, but that was a healthy sample size at the time that they benched him.
The crazy number about Fitzpatrick calls into question the Dolphins' decision to bench him, which is, if you look at the stats of quarterbacks, quarterback rating, completion percentage, yards from a clean pocket, Fitzpatrick was one of the best in the National Football League when they benched him.
Right.
So Dolphins fans who now look at their 4-3 start say, we could win the division, guys. We don't need to, listen, we don't want to go through the growing pains right now. We're 4-3. Our division's not great. We could do that. And it is a tough call. If you're a Dolphins fan, you know that Fitzmagic is not the answer long term. You know that, look, you're not a Super Bowl contender. But, man, you'd like to make the playoffs, and they play hard, and they're kind of fun to watch, and he was having a really good season.
So I'm looking at quarterback rating now because I'm just on that page with all quarterback stats for the year. There are 10 quarterbacks with a quarterback rating north of 100 this year. Offense was ahead in the overs and all that kind of stuff, and I get defense was catching up in the pro game, kind of like it was in college. I don't know if it was as steep of a curve as college was. But, good God. You've got Joe Burrow at 14th in the NFL at 67% completion percentage, and then Tom Brady is ranked 9th in the NFL in quarterback rating at 103.1. That's 9th. That's craziness. You've got 4 quarterbacks over 110.
Well, think about the league right now. If you're just we're at the mid-season marker. Russell Wilson's been the best quarterback in the league this year. Okay,
pretty much correct. Yeah.
Yes. Patrick Mahomes, probably the second best quarterback in the league. I don't. From there, if you go through and look at, so we talk about rookies all the time. Justin Herbert's really good, and he is a rookie. Obviously, I just got done talking about Burrow. He is a rookie, really, really good. Then we go and we start talking about the other guys around the league that we like. You just mentioned probably, there may be 7, 8 other guys that we would all say are having fantastic years. So you start getting into half the league has a quarterback that's playing really well. Tom Brady's playing exceptionally well.
Okay, so here are your guys 1 through 10 in rating. This is not the ESPN QBR. This is just the old school 158.3 quarterback rating system. It's Russell, Mahomes, Rodgers, Carr, Tannehill, Deshaun Watson, surprisingly, for as bad as they've been, he's played really well according to the efficiency metrics. Drew Brees. Justin Herbert is in 8th in quarterback rating this season.
He's been good, man.
Brady and Josh Allen. That's your top 10.
Josh Allen's not. What are we doing?
You know who's 11th? Big Ben. So he's outside the top 10, and he's having a really good year in an offense that's very multiple. It doesn't rely on him as much as, say, Seattle does for Russell Wilson.
They've figured out Big Ben. He was trending the direction that they've decided to embrace, which I give them I give them a lot of credit. They recognize he's not the same player with age and injury. Look at air yards per attempt now and what he's doing. It's much different than what he was doing 4 years ago, 5 years ago, right? He doesn't throw the ball down you can look at those air yards. And they've got guys that can stretch plays and make big plays after the catch. But they're not asking nearly as much of Big Ben as they used to. He's just not that guy anymore. It started, before he got hurt a year ago, and it was already trending in that direction. But this is why they deserve credit. They have a great running game. They've got splash players everywhere. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly, and then they rely on their defense and they run the ball. I mean, this is like almost when he came into the league.
Yeah, that's correct. This is his fewest yards per attempt in a full season. Well, when he's on pace to play a full season since year 3 of his career.
Right. Yeah, they're not asking him to do it.
And his yards per game is down unbelievably.
Well,
it's down to 232.6 because they're playing balanced as an offense.
I love the way the Steelers play. When I watch, and I've watched a lot of Steelers because they played a lot of good games. They've been, whether it's the Titans or the Ravens, you name it, they've played a lot of close games and they've been fun to watch. I like their brand of football right now, but they remind me of the Steelers that were really good. They remind the ones that won the Super Bowl. They remind me of those teams. They play good defense. They run the football with Connor. He's great. They've got guys that are really man beaters, and they're able to do a lot of the wins underneath when they throw the ball 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. They throw it underneath, and they get guys to make you miss.
Okay, so his 5 full seasons previous. So he was injured last year. I think he played and started 2 games last year. That was it for Ben. The previous 5 seasons. Here are his yards per game numbers: 309, 328. 272, 283, probably the Le'Veon Bell years, right? And then 320. This year's 232.
Oh, yeah. They don't need him to do it.
Nope.
And what you don't know and what's hard to figure out right now about him, this is a really fun league this year, by the way, and I'm happy to talk a lot about the NFL right now because it's a fun league. What you don't know is this based on what he can no longer do coming off that injury and because of age? Or is this because of the balance they possess? Or is this because they're letting him gain the arm strength back slowly? That, again, he said at the start of the season, I'm not 100%. I'm good enough to play, but there are certain throws I can't make right now. I got to get stronger. I got to get the reps. So it's smart when you've got players that can make you miss in space, and you got a running game, and you got a defense that you trust, to ease your quarterback back into it. What I don't know is late in the season when teams begin to take away the run and say, beat us in inclement weather, you got to throw the ball down the field, you got to push the ball through the wind, right, and the cold. Can he do that?
Well, back in 2018, I'm looking at his numbers. That was a season for the ages for Ben. I didn't realize this. Now, they went 9-6-1 that season, but he had to be everything for them.
Yeah.
He threw for 5,100 yards. He completed 67% of his passes.
Yeah, man, he's a good player.
And he got the ball down. Well, it's the second wave the second time that they come back. And Hall of Famers, Steve Smith had one. Ben Roethlisberger has one. If Levante David is to go down as a Hall of Famer, he'll be the Hall of Underappreciated Fame because the numbers and the metrics say he's been a Pro Bowler, All-Pro type for years. Well, he's still going. Ben Roethlisberger now is coming off. His last full season was epic. He's completing nearly 68% of his passes this year. And he's doing so with a career average of 64.4. He's getting more accurate as time is going on. The air yards per attempt isn't dropping that much. It's about 8%.
Yeah. No,
but he's getting more accurate. He's getting older.
Well, again, they're not asking him to throw the ball down the field as much. But yes, listen. When you're completing almost 68% of your passes, and you have a 15-4 touchdown interception ratio, and again, now he hasn't only thrown for 1,628 yards, so they're not asking him to carry the day. But that's good. It's smart. It's just smart. We're living in an era where if a quarterback doesn't do mind-boggling things like we saw last year out of the league MVP in Lamar Jackson, like we see Patrick Mahomes do, like Russell Wilson does every freaking week, right? If a quarterback doesn't do something like that, that is to say complete 70-something% of his passes and throw for nearly 400 yards every week, we're just like, well, he's average. But there's also just being smart and balanced. And not asking your quarterback to have to be Superman every Sunday.
No, I think if you're creating a short list of teams that are the most balanced across the two major phases of the game. Pittsburgh leads the way.
Yeah.
They've got to, right? Because they can run it, they can throw it, and they can play defense. Tampa's on that list.
Yeah, right now, yeah.
The Titans are probably on that list.
I'm worried about the Titans. They give away too many third downs. They've trailed in 38%. You know, it's crazy. They have trailed by more than a touchdown for 38% of the games they play. Like almost half the time they're trailing in games. They're good because they have an identity.
Okay, so offensive, they've got the two-way go on offense. They can throw it and they can run it. So defense would be the reason that they would not be on the list.
Well, their defense is terrible.
Okay.
So I wouldn't put them on
So you
the
got
list.
Pittsburgh and Tampa. Baltimore's not on that list this year,
Well, they're struggling to run the way that they did. And
which
then
means they can't throw.
Well, and they're not trusting. I gave you the stat the other day in the drive that they ended up fumbling inside the 10, which cost them the game. They ran 10 plays on that drive. They didn't ask Lamar Jackson, the league MVP, to throw one pass.
Kansas City might not be on that list for defense, but it might not matter because their offense can just go drop 50 on you.
Yeah,
San Francisco was last year, no
they're
longer.
done.
That's a
Goodbye.
mash unit of a
Yeah,
team.
mash unit done. Yeah. I think Green Bay's in trouble. Like, statistically, you'd probably put them on the list, but
Yeah, you see what Dalvin does to them, and you go, ooh, okay.
well, what the Bucs did to him, what Dalvin just did to him. The other disturbing part about what happened with Green Bay against Minnesota is thanks for the 14 points against one of the league's worst defenses who's missing 3 corners. The Vikings were missing 3. What are we doing? Aaron Rodgers, 14 points against that team? A team you dismantled earlier in the year? Man, I don't know. Something's up there. Something strikes me as odd there. I don't think they're singing Kumbaya over there right
Well,
now.
no, it's the other push. It's the push again for getting somebody at the trade deadline, and they didn't. I mean, you could use one. Devontae went off. Like, if you're a Devontae Adams fantasy owner, you don't like the yardage total, but you like the touchdowns, and so your production is good. But where else is it coming from? And Aaron Jones has to be healthy. That's what we're learning about them, is that Aaron Jones is a bigger driver of the bus than you want to give credit for because 12 cast the shadow over everything.
Yeah, they give up a lot of pressures, and then they're not as good defensively once they're playing some. Go back and look at their schedule from earlier in the season. They didn't play a lot of offenses.
No, they're not playing. I mean, to finish the season.
Yeah, but when they finally did run into a couple, they didn't have much success. So that makes you wonder about them a little bit. I don't know. They might be a Fugazi. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with. Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hello. Thanks for tuning to the program. Hope you're well. Hanging in there, everybody? Deep breaths, deep breaths. You're all right. We're all right. Email the show if you like, JCS at 979ESPNradio.com. We'll try to get to it. I do appreciate the input there. I'm not good at getting back to you, but I get them forwarded to me. We have a staff that will forward things to me like that. If you're saying something worth reading, and they'll say, "Hey, man, you need to look at this one." And oftentimes, it could be fodder for the show and good content, great question. Other times, it could just be a really kind word or two, which I do appreciate.
Did you do your Flag Day thing this year? It was June 14th. It's just after your birthday.
I missed it. I didn't go to I didn't reach out to the people on Flag Day. I screwed it up.
Maybe Veterans Day's coming up sometime soon, so maybe we could reappropriate.
I feel terrible that I didn't do Flag Day. Last year when Flag Day happened, we for some reason I think we had the day off.
Veterans Day is 1 week from today.
So I can do a Veterans Day.
Take the day off. You can answer.
I can do a Veterans Day answering of emails that go back. Well, last year when I did the answer my email on Flag Day, which I decided that's what Flag Day was for, was to answer emails and to wish Corey Clark a happy birthday. So I did sit down and I went through the archive of what do I have? I've told you before. I've got 90. I'm looking at it right now. I have 91,389 emails in my inbox. And I went through.
Matt Millar just grabbed the brown paper bag and started breathing into it.
Yeah. And I went through and found the ones that weren't, just ridiculous. They were all like valid emails to the show or to the state. And there were questions in there from 2016, and I answered them, including one gentleman who hates my guts and wrote me several times over the course of 2 months back in 2017. I don't know what I did to him in 2017. But I responded to him. I was like, thanks for listening, buddy. Appreciate you. I mean, he was, everything under the sun. He actually wrote me back. He's like, I've come around on you. That cracked me up. I thought I'd get an FU, and he's like, I've come around on you.
That's like one of the old promos from back in the day. Come on, just keep listening.
Keep on hanging there. You'll like get me. There. Well, then there were, so here's what's funny. I did respond, and one of the guys that had asked a question 5 years ago, something ridiculous, wrote back, Flag Day indeed, Cameron. So he's still a regular listener. 5 years later, I got back to him, and he just wrote back, Flag Day indeed.
Well, if we're waiting until Flag Day again, that's next June. Yeah. Otherwise, you've got a week before Veterans Day for the great response.
Well, I'll tell you this. I did get, thanks to staff here, I had somebody send me one of a Florida State alumnus who lives in California and wanted.
Yep. It's it could be a surprise.
That's right. And so there you go. That was a great one. It was exciting. I'm glad I got it.
It was not a Salisbury. Spoiler alert, folks.
Do you think everybody remembers Sean Salisbury losing a very lucrative job, a great job in which all he had to do was play this role of bully to John, what's his face?
Clayton.
Whatever happened to John Clayton?
ESPN laid him off, and he's doing radio out in Seattle, I do believe.
Yeah, he's a Seattle guy through and through. Incredibly knowledgeable. I think he's in the writers portion of the NFL Hall of Fame.
He could be. He was the guy for like 15 years at least on ESPN.
Man, but anyhow, and he did the famous Kick-Ass Slayer commercial for the hit on SportsCenter. But he, that's all they did. They would play up those roles and hate each other or whatever. And then Salisbury got fired because he's out there taking pictures of a wang.
So John Clayton is younger than Nick Saban.
You would not guess it.
He is 66.
And he's working in Seattle?
Yeah, it looks like it.
We should get Clayton on.
We should.
He would probably do it, no problem. He strikes me as a
He joined ESPN in 1995.
Fellow, yeah.
And he left in 20. Wow, he was there for 22 years, John Clayton.
They screwed him over. They fired him with the big wave of firings. You think Clayton, What do you think he was pulling?
Oh. Well, how much were they paying then? Like, For the 6 o'clock hot seat segment with Salisbury, I don't know that that's going to get you. I know he's an NFL insider.
But a great NFL insider. I bet he was pulling $200,000-$300,000 a year.
Oh, I was going to say higher.
Yeah, $500,000-$600,000.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, Salisbury.
That's a tough job to lose, man.
On his Wikipedia page. This is on Clayton's Wikipedia page that Salisbury would refer to John Clayton as the Crypt Keeper and Mr. Peabody. It was before First Take. It was First Take before it was on 10 a.m. to noon every day.
It's disheartening. It was the precursor to the ridiculousness that we see now. That it was the indicator. It certainly portended of the negative stuff we see now, which is just guys screaming at each other.
Yeah, he was immortalized, John Clayton was, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame with the Dick McCann Memorial Award. That was in 2007. So he's put in the HOF a long time ago.
He's been around forever and been really, really good at it. Yeah, absolutely. We should follow up on the Will McDonough. I sent you the picture.
You did,
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Do you remember the face when I sent it to you?
No.
That really is the dividing line of our age. Like, that's where it begins. Because my man was as well known as there was in the business, having climbed the ranks as a sports journalist, Boston Globe, 40 years covering the league. I mean, that guy did a lot, and then eventually got the gig on television.
He referred to Roger Clemens as the Texas con man. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
There's a lot of controversy in his career, which doesn't surprise me because Sean's not afraid either.
No, not afraid. And sometimes he can rub you the wrong way. There is that very obvious tinge of arrogance.
Oh, the elitism of the New England area. Yes.
Yeah, it comes across.
Pervasive.
It comes across. But we like him. He is good at what he does.
Yeah, he's not afraid to call something out. I remember last year in the Big 12 championship game.
He'll be like, that's a terrible play.
The Baylor kid got hit in the head, and then he's still playing, and he makes an awful throw to a wide-open receiver. He goes, I don't know. How is he still on the field? It's clear what's going on.
Die. What's happening here?
It's clear.
Yeah.
I think he would have completed that throw.
I love it when announcers do that, though. That actually is concern for the kid. Hey, my Arkansas Razorbacks covered last week yet again. Little backdoor action covered against Texas A&M. Arkansas is the story of the year, my friend.
Don't they have a matchup with Tennessee this weekend?
They're going to beat Tennessee's ass.
Oh, okay.
Get on with it, buddy.
Is that a spoiler alert for Redemption Thursday?
They're getting 2 points.
Okay, so you knew. You were ready.
Oh, yeah. I saw it early in the week. I've already bet it. Let's go Hogs. They're 2-3. They've got believers out there in Fayetteville these days, buddy. I am pumped. There it is. I love that team. I am.
Oh, buddy, I'm going to catch the second half of that game. We kick at 4, so that means I'll probably be done with the post game around 8:39. So I can catch second half of Tennessee, Arkansas on the SEC network. Boom.
You want to know something that's crazy, and it just shows you. And who knows? I'm gonna root for them, and I root for kids to do well as long as they're not jerks. But I just read an article where scouts are noting that one of the quarterbacks that have generated the most buzz so far in college football, that have raised their stock the highest in the shortest period of time through 5 games, Felipe Franks. NFL scouts are looking at him, and they talk about the fact that, look, he's a big kid, first of all, and he's mobile. And he's playing for a team that, listen, as improved as Arkansas is, they're not world beaters. And he's completed 66% of his passes. He's got 11 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. He's run for almost 200 yards. He's thrown for over 1,200 yards. He's not turning it over. He's playing smart. It's kind of cool.
I thought we didn't like Felipe Franks.
Well, I didn't like him as a player. I didn't think he was very good, but I don't remember he got awfully arrogant on the sideline.
He's
he got
kind
all
of an
pissed.
idiot.
Yeah, he was an idiot. I'm not saying that I want to be his friend. I'm happy to see him get it together.
But when comparing, so for example, like Antonio Brown versus Buccaneers uniform, that's tough for me. No. Hang on.
I was going to say, we can't compare Felipe Franks to Antonio Brown, who's been accused on multiple occasions of sexual assault.
Here's where I'm going with it.
Okay.
There's a point. It's just that Antonio Brown, as a guy I don't like, stronger than the Buccaneers logo. One of the few people that would be. I'm like, unfortunate. No. What you're saying, again, they're not the same thing.
No.
But you're looking at the hog on the helmet, and you're looking at Felipe Franks, and you say, Felipe, I might not like your antics, but you know what? You're A-OK, because the hog has more power for me, especially with that head coach, than you do.
Sam Pittman is their head coach. Old fat Sam Pittman.
I won't remember his name ever, and that's perfect. That's the way it should be. We just love that guy in Arkansas.
Well, here's the thing. He is a guy that you would run through a brick wall for. And because he is, I am able to kind of ignore certain things. And I root for him. I like that guy. He's doing some things. Proud of him.
He seems like he's had a long, hard road, Sam Pittman, just looking at him.
Go back and watch the press conference, everybody. This is why Tom and I were talking about Arkansas before the year. This poor man, he had given up on ever being a college football head coach. He said it wasn't going to happen. He was at the end of his career. He was an offensive line coach at Georgia. He was content about being an offensive line. By the way, Georgia's offensive line is good every freaking year, so he had job security. He's done a good job with him. He never thought in a million years he'd get the call, and then he got the call, and he's telling the story at the dais, and he gets to the part where he had to come home and tell his wife that he got a call from Arkansas. They want to interview him for the head coach's position, and his voice cracks. And he's a mountain of a man. He has to pause. His hand shakes. His lips quiver, and you go, oh, don't do it, Sam Pittman. Don't you do this. But he gets choked up, and he talks about a dream coming true, and he had given up on it, and he had put it out of his mind. Come on, Sam Pittman. You get Arkansas to a bowl, baby. I'm rooting for them. And that professor who drank himself half to death before every kickoff, knowing that Arkansas wasn't going to do a damn thing yet again this year.
We've got to find that guy. We got to know his name, and we got to have him on. If they make a bowl, he needs to come on and do a segment.
Yeah, listen, he's done a great job. We'll get Sam Pittman on. We love having random coaches on.
Yep, that's right.
Let's just call him. Hey, Sam, Jeff Cameron in Tallahassee, cover the Knowles. Really don't care anything about Arkansas, but I love you, sir. Come on and let's talk about your past, your future, and your current job, what you're doing there with the Woo Pig Suey.
We'll patch in Adazio. Let them talk to each other.
Well,
hello, Sam.
I'm sure they know each other.
Steve. Oh, man.
They do know each other. Go back to when Adazio was at Florida. They're probably like, oh, good to hear from you.
Yeah. Passionate men.
They can talk about wine and pastry, eating too much.
I think they do all those things.
All those things.
All those things.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Stafford on reserved COVID-19 list. Lions quarterback on the list due to a false positive originally. Bucks wide receiver Antonio Brown is a go. Bears quarterback Mitchell Trubisky played one snap against the Saints, got injured, so a lot of people were asking whether or not he could start this week because that offense is bogged down yet again. Doesn't look likely, and the 49ers facility has closed today due to COVID. The NFL is in a weird spot with the trade deadline happening and all of these kind of, not huge stories, but certainly stories.
It's almost as though they know that things are going to get a little bit worse because the report from 2 days ago is they're considering a 16-team playoff this year as a contingency if they have some problems where they cannot play the full 16-game slate.
I'm never a fan of it. I don't like expanding playoffs that already have too many teams. But I understand. I mean, they're doing everything they can to, I suppose, get these games in and get their money. That's what that's about. But, man.
Yeah, the question is, will fans be allowed in the stands in the places they are already allowed, through the end of the regular season? Because it looks like, if you look at the Big Ten for college football, they're saying no way, no how. The cases right now in the Midwest are not in a good place. You're looking at the case count across the country. You just wonder if the NFL at some point says, all right, I understand what you guys are trying to do to maximize revenue, but here's what we have to do in order to be able to play the games each weekend. Not that attendance necessarily leads to player getting that COVID thing, but it's just, maybe it adds to a couple of places where there's more danger than there would be.
Falcons have a player come out and rip the team about not being traded, and the NFL stories today are just bizarre, or not bizarre, but a lot of contentious situations, whether that be games being played, players demanding trades, teams that needed players did not trade for them, Antonio Brown being who he is, the situation in Detroit and San Francisco. It really kind of leaves, we got a game scheduled for tomorrow that would be on our airwaves that we're not even sure is going to be played.
But for now, the latest report is that the road team, I think that's the Packers, they're hopping on their flight as normal. Whoever the road team is, the itinerary has not changed for tomorrow night's game. So they're leaving this afternoon local time in order to get there to stay over in a hotel and be ready to go for TNF.
I was thinking and I was hopeful, and it certainly looked like that was going to be the case, that we were going to get through this season with minimal disruption, the NFL that is. And we talked a lot about that because of the responsibility of grown-ass men with families to take care of. And you've seen a few exceptions. The Titans may have broken protocol. The Las Vegas Raiders may have broken protocol.
The Giants
broken protocol. We've seen a few of those instances. But we had gone relatively unscathed up to this point. You had a few exceptions where they've had to move some things around, but now it feels like that is really ratcheting up, and I'm beginning to wonder, you're right, they're going to have to make some contingency plans that they were not hoping for, or do they eventually get to a place where they do figure out how to bubble this?
Well, I'm worried about, within your own market, like you go to a hotel, something like that.
Yeah.
When you get this close to the end, you might be able to pull it off and say, guys, we're asking for 6 weeks of your time or 4 weeks where the families are allowed. We'll get you suites. We'll get you set up. I think New Orleans was investigating that early on. I don't know if they actually executed it or not, but they were looking at that early on just because hotel rates are so good. You might as well rent a floor or two.
Yeah, it stinks that hotel rates are that good in New Orleans for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, New Orleans might have sports gambling. That was a cool thing at the top of the hour. Looks like Louisiana is pushing ever closer towards legalizing it. Sounds good.
Come on down.
Biloxi hates it.
Well, listen, it's going to be all over the country by the time I'm 60. It's going to be everywhere. I'm 49.
That
Tom.
soon?
Yeah. I was waiting for it. It's a weird weekend because we have so many more games to choose from, and on the upside of this weekend is the return of the Pac-12. But, again, I don't know how much of a factor they're going to be. We've spent so much of the time in the last 10 days talking about who's the fourth team that's getting into a college football playoff. I don't know that the answer can ever be anybody from the Pac-12. I don't think it can be during this season because they're playing so few games.
Well, but if you have that fourth team candidate being a 2-loss team, which could happen, if you're looking for reasonable Like Notre Dame could still lose to Clemson this weekend and then lose in the ACC championship
to
game.
Clemson.
And then the SEC's out of whack where maybe Georgia loses twice to Alabama. But if you're playing – because this is the thing. A lot of people are speculating that the rule, which is select the 4 best teams, is going to come in play and be taken more literally this year by the College Football Playoff Committee than ever before. So records might not matter nearly as much this year compared to other seasons because the committee can fall back on the idea of the best 4 teams as an excuse and say, COVID, best 4, get out of my face.
I still think it's going to be incredibly difficult to figure that out because 3 of these teams we already know are going to be in there. Ohio State is going. They've got arguably the best quarterback in the country, and they're a dominant team across the board. They're going. Clemson's going. Because even if they lose this weekend, it won't matter. They didn't have Trevor Lawrence. They won't be held against them. It's a freebie. They're going, okay? So Ohio State's going, Clemson's going, and Alabama's going. They're going. And I don't think they're going to lose either, by the way, in the SEC. So they're going.
But even if they lost in the SEC championship, they're still probably going.
I think so.
If you're a Clemson or an Alabama fan right now, like Clemson fans can go into that game and say, it doesn't matter if we lose. Let's see what the quarterback can do.
Yeah. So they're going. The 4th is still hard because if Notre Dame's only 2 losses are to Clemson, a team in the college football playoff, and say an undefeated one at that, let's just say, and they pretty much have taken care of business against everybody else and been lately they've been dominant here. So if they pick it up and continue to move the football, rely on that defense, they have the best offensive line in the country. They're still a viable candidate with 2 losses. There's nobody in the Big 12.
Right. Georgia could be that team. Let's just say they blow Florida out this weekend. I don't know that that's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think they could win, but I don't.
They play close games. They played a close game with Kentucky.
14-3.
Yeah. But let's say they get a convincing win over Florida, right, to bolster their resume, and they lose to Alabama again, and you say, well, I mean, what's Georgia done? Everything they could except beat the number 1 team in the country. So there's an open slot. You might as well.
Yeah, Georgia's a contender. I don't know that there's enough teams, there are enough games being played in the Pac-12 to warrant attention for any team out there. I don't know who's good enough. Southern Cal's not going to be. Right. Is Oregon going to be?
You need Oregon to win by 50 this weekend because people overvalue Stanford. Usually there's 5 Stanford people on the committee, I feel like, even though there's only 1.
I mean, it's hard to find a 4th team that people are going to go, yeah, that seems right. It doesn't feel that way. And by the way, if it is Notre Dame, in the year that they're in the ACC, good news for the ACC. We've got 2 teams out of the 4 in the college football playoff.
No, this is the ideal scenario for the ACC.
Yes, it is.
Like, if the ACC had a lot more money, which they don't because the TV deal sucks and they never negotiated properly with the cable companies.
Slowly getting there, Tom Lang. Slowly getting there.
If they had SEC money, I would have said they might have slid a couple of bucks over to Dabo and say, you know what? Trevor doesn't need to play this weekend. Yeah. It doesn't do any damage to you, Dabo.
Yeah. What do you care? You've done everything right, huh? I'm saying here's the top 10 teams in college football.
It's all right, though. We're on the ACC network this weekend. We got it covered.
Blows me away when you look at the way that this is and I'm not talking about AP. I'm just looking at power rankings, and you got teams that haven't played a game that get ranked in the top 10. Southern Cal comes into the season like 10 in some polls. They haven't played a game. Meanwhile, there's a 2-loss Auburn team that, what are we doing?
Bo Nix, baby.
He's terrible.
They're going to beat Alabama.
And I'll give Cincinnati all kinds of credit for being 5-0 and waxing Memphis 49-10. We think Cincinnati is one of the best 8 or 9 teams in the country. Do we really?
This was the year for UCF. The timing was wrong for them. This was their chance. The COVID year, if they were beating everybody 70-10, I think people would have listened a little bit more.
Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and then those duking it out are going to be Georgia, Texas A&M, Florida, Notre Dame. That's about – I think we stopped there.
Okay, so if you want to do it that way and play hype machine, then Florida-Georgia this weekend is an elimination
game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it is.
Yeah, because Florida already lost A&M, so they need this. They got to have it.
Yeah, they lose to Georgia. A, they're not going to win the East, and B, that's it. That's 2 losses, and you're not going to win your division. Peace out.
There's a playoff game afoot.
Let's go, Dogs.
Woof, woof.
Did you know that the metrics suggest that the UMass Minutemen are the worst team in college football? You think he regrets taking the job?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, he's always wanted to be a head coach, told us that.
He probably regretted coming here after being here for a few weeks, and they're like, so what's my job description?
I don't know. I'm just thinking, though, like, if you have the pedigree and you're as well thought of as he was when he was, say, at Maryland, right? And you're Walt Bell, and you are upwardly mobile. You get a job, you get hired to come to Florida State. I mean, you are skyrocketing to the top of the coaching profession. You've gone as a young man from being an OC to then moving to Florida State to do it. You don the garnet and gold, and you're already being whispered about for a few jobs as a head coach. I know it's hard to say no, but UMass.
Well, he quarterback in hell and looked good for that, and that was how he was going to get to the next step.
Golly. I know if somebody's forcing you out the door that you really can't, because clearly they didn't get along. But that's one of those times where you've worked hard all your life, and then you go, you know what? I get that radio job, and that other market is a better job, but I've got a built-in audience, and I've got sponsors, and I'm just not going to take that job. If you're Walt Bell, you're like, you know what? I'm young. I'm doing okay for myself. I'm not going to take that UMass job.
Pretty amazing thing that you can have 3 coordinators you hire in your brief time at a place, and you don't like any of them. You don't get along with any of them.
Yeah.
That's tough to do.
Well, we've had this conversation, about all of the people you dislike. At some point, it's you, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimbo never liked his D coordinator. He liked Pruitt, but then Pruitt bolted on him, so he hated him.
That relationship's interesting. I don't know that he liked Pruitt. He respected his football acumen and left him alone.
Well, what it sounds like
I don't know that they were like hanging out.
The interview process, it was like a battle of wits.
Right.
He's like, well, if I do this. He's like,
I will do that. I don't know. Okay, that sounds good to me.
Now, what if I do this?
I'll show you what I'll do here. Look at that. I love you.
You're hired.
You're hired right now. Let's go drinking. Where are you from?
It's a suicide rap.
We'll make it caller number 3, 523-3776, 523-3776. Which, our friends from Which, we love them. I love them. Thank you, Which. And you will be saying thank you, Which. If you call right now, 523-3776, you win 2 Wickeds. It's Wicked Wednesday on the Jeff Cameron Show. Superior sandwiches from Which.
Always remember, don't use this thing on a Wednesday. Save more money. Use it other days. They got the
Correct.
special today.
And there's my fat head with a cup of coffee right there on the card. That's accurate every morning. My fat head with a cup of coffee. They got that right. Usually 4 of them. 4 cups of coffee.
Do you envision yourself ever weaning off of coffee?
No. No desire to.
My fiance didn't have a desire to, but she doesn't drink it anymore. Can you believe that? Except for
what was the impetus? What was the? I don't understand. If she didn't have a desire to, why'd she stop?
Well, she thought maybe the headaches she was having were caffeine headaches, but it wasn't like a I'm not so sure kind of a thing, and she was worried about dependence coming off of it, that there was going to be an issue. No issue.
No issue.
Just sips on tea now every once in a while.
She should get back to the coffee. It's a more quality effort.
It makes the house smell amazing.
Yeah, coffee's incredible. And I've been told time and again by doctor after doctor, there's absolutely nothing wrong with drinking coffee.
Yep.
Nothing. In fact, many people now have come out, research says you should drink coffee if you're not. So we've done a 180 on the coffee thing. It's a little bit like eggs, Tom. You know, for a long time in this country, we tried to tell people you shouldn't eat eggs, going to create high cholesterol. Now they tell you, better eat some eggs. Really good for you. Probably the best source of protein. It's the right kind of fat. Get you some eggs in your life.
Wait till they change their minds in 20 years.
Yeah.
Goes the other way.
Yeah. Well, so eggs, I eat them. Coffee, I drink it. I have no desire to stop drinking coffee. Not going to stop drinking coffee. It's not like I'm smoking crack every morning. I'm drinking coffee. So we're good there.
Right, but it's the idea of do I enjoy it because I need it or because I love it? It's probably both, right?
No, I've gone days without coffee and been fine. I know people who get splitting headaches, right, if they don't have caffeine of any kind. So some people drink soda, which is really not what you do ever. Soda's just pure garbage. Not a good thing in soda, nothing. Whereas the coffee bean is natural. And if you have, now listen, everything in moderation. You shouldn't have 10 cups of coffee. Hell, you shouldn't have 15 cups of water either. But I mean, you know what I mean. I love the taste of coffee, and is it acquired taste? It did take some time. I'm sure I know I drank it in college. It was my first or second year of college is when I began to drink it. And then later on, I did overnights for a job. I needed it then. Then I needed it. But I just love it. I love it. I like it on a cold, rainy, wet afternoon or something like that, sipping on a cup of coffee, looking out the window. I like it first thing in the morning. The smell, it is something that wakes you up, but I also love the taste of coffee on a cold day. Hot day doesn't make a difference. Now, you have to admit, you used to laugh about this, but I did have a bit of an issue where I'm an energetic guy, or at least I certainly want to be while we do this show, and I want to be locked in. I was doing the combo 2 cups of coffee in the show and 5-hour energy before the show, and you'd be like, Jesus, man.
Yeah, your poor heart.
But I was fine. You'd be like, that doesn't make you sick? You know the only thing that ever made me sick? Go ahead.
Because you gave me an extra strength 5-hour energy one day. This is back on the AM dial.
Did I?
Well, I needed one. You didn't just say, like, here you go, take this. This will make you feel better. I was exhausted, and you said,
get you one of these. It'll help you lock in.
Exactly. Get you one of these.
Shouldn't have made you twitchy because it doesn't have.
Oh, I was jittery as hell.
Shouldn't.
I was nervous. I was jittery. I felt like Tweak from South Park.
You have that issue even when you have 1 cup of coffee, though.
That's correct.
Your system is kind of prone that way. I don't know why, but it is.
Very, very sensitive. Like, so I'll get from Gordo's every once in a while a Cuban coffee.
Which is delicious.
Oh, God. Well, Dan got me started on that.
But they're delicious. You got to do it.
Yeah, I had to drive to Atlanta to hop on a flight one night. It was like 10 o'clock flight on the way out, and I was tired from work that day. He goes, I got you. Just hang on a minute. He comes back. He's got some Cuban coffee from the back. I didn't even think to ask for it. I loved it. I was wired. I was driving. I saw all the animals on the side of the road.
Buddy, you were locked in.
You're not running in front of my car. I'm going to honk my horn.
I got you. I know where you're coming from. Yeah. Listen, the only time I ever took something that ended up making everybody's like, oh God, where's he going? The only time I ever took something that made me a little wigged out was back in the day, I don't know if they still do this because I stopped looking after this one experience, but when you go to a gas station, any gas station, when I was at East Tennessee State, I drove back from Johnson City one time, ultimately two, but this was the one time I drove on my lonesome, famous story where I feel bad to this day, taking off the guy had fixed the fan belt and I didn't have the money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But did your mom call him?
That was the key. My mom
Oh,
called
so this
about
guy...
never helped him out, I don't think. No. No, I just screwed him over. Had to do it. But,
Desperate times.
Desperate times, right. So, the point would be this. I was without a radio because this guy's radio, whose car I borrowed, broke like a mile into the trip. All right, really? That's what we're going to do? 14 hours of driving with no radio? Holy hell. Anyhow, that said, I stopped at a gas station because I was fighting it. Now, I should have just pulled over and gone to sleep, but I didn't want to do that. I'm an impatient guy. I want to get to where I'm going. So I bought one of those, like, it would be the equivalent of like a Monster energy drink, but it was in a pill form, like those little packets,
yeah.
those?
Yeah.
Whatever those were called.
Well,
I
there
don't
were
remember
things called yellow jackets in my high school that I think were a little bit more than that.
Those
They
are
might have
probably
been,
illegal,
like,
right?
Speed, yeah.
Yeah. But this, I think, had, like, it was legal, but I think it had speed. Like, truckers take it. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And they would have these shiny packages, and they'd be like, hey, take this if you need to stay awake. What they don't tell you is if you need to stay awake for 36 hours, you need to take that. But, anyhow, I took it, messed me up. I was a mess. I was tweaking. I got like 10 hours in, and I still was shaking. My hands were shaking. It was so bad. It almost made me sick. That stuff, that should be illegal. I'm pretty sure that was just straight speed.
Well, I told you I took the Mountain Dew energy drink years ago ahead of this was exams because I didn't go to class during the semester.
You
so
needed
I would
to
always
catch
cram.
up.
I would cram, and I knew I could.
Yeah.
Give me the book. I'm good to go.
I'm going to get this, yeah.
But I realized one night after I drank, all of it, and I probably had one earlier in the day, that, hey, you know what? You could probably just go to bed now, and you actually have 3 hours before your exam. If you've only got 3 hours of work left or 2, and you have a 3-hour window, get your sleep now. And I tried to fall asleep after drinking this thing, and I had dangerous thoughts about self-harm. Like you
What?
should. Oh yeah,
Jesus.
My body was trying to shut down and sleep, but it wasn't allowed to. And then it turned into thoughts about how it was bad.
Here's how you can get some sleep
Right.
permanently.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't depression triggered thoughts. It was like, you know what? This is pointless. Why are you even trying
Let's
to
sleep forever, Tom.
Right. Yeah. Ooh, this is not good.
Let's sleep the sleep of the dead, Tom.
Right. Yeah. Don't have to worry about that
You're
exam.
like, no, you don't have to worry about anything ever again. You'll sleep soundly, sir.
So I was stuck. I decided to start studying again. Yeah.
Well, good. That's probably a good idea. Let me ask you this. So next year, and we'll do it on the show. Why don't we do this on the show next year? And we've been wanting to expand the show, make it bigger. I know at some point, we've all been under budgetary constraints because of COVID, and we can't have anybody in
And
here.
how?
All that good stuff. But I was thinking that, I want an extra mic for Director Matthew to be able to speak. I wanted an extra mic back in the day, show contributor Chris. But we should have an elimination league, an eliminator league, right? And I've been monitoring because they have a lot of these contests out in Las Vegas. NFL, by the way. You can't pick the same team twice.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right.
My
See-
sister came in second in one of these things that was a regional, and it was, my God, lucrative.
Well, they've got a multi-million-dollar one out in Vegas. And the crazy thing is there's two different leagues. There's one where you just pick a winner, and you can't pick the same team twice. And then secondly, from week to week, and then secondly, there's one against the number. The spread every week.
Jesus.
Now, that's much harder, and people get eliminated with
I
the
would say like
quickness.
60% of the pool is gone in week one.
Well, it's amazing how quickly it happens. What you end up finding out is that, there is an art to it, right? And I've read some about the strategy and all this, but what drives you nuts, think about this. There's a guy right now out in Las Vegas, Tom, that is in this numbers league. It's the spread league, okay? He's hitting at 68.7%, and he's in second. Some SOB has correctly predicted against the spread at over 73%.
Wait a minute. This is you pick every game against the spread? This is not an eliminator league, or how's...
No. I'm saying there's two separate contests.
Yeah.
One is an eliminator league. You just pick the winners.
Okay.
Can't use the same team twice.
Yeah.
The other is an elimination league, but you have to pick against the spread each week. And you can't pick the same team twice, so it gets even weirder.
So how is he hitting 68% and he's still alive? Like, wouldn't you have to hit 100%?
Right. Maybe it's you pick 5.
Okay, so it's like a super
Yeah,
contest.
it's a super contest.
Okay.
That's what it is. Sorry, yeah, it's a super contest. You pick 5. You're right. And it's not 1. Yeah, that makes more sense. So that's what it is. But he's hitting at that rate, and he's winning each week. And he's. But imagine if you were 68, almost 70%, and you weren't winning. How pissed off you'd
Sure.
be every week.
Well, I think there's a super contest that we may participate in for fun, and
Just for fun.
somebody had 80% through the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, 70-something% it was. Yeah.
I don't know if it's still holding.
I don't think it is, but Dr. Joseph St. Germain, who will join us tomorrow, he beat me
knows about these
Well,
things.
he beat me last year, and I was at over 60% in my NFL games. I'm a little bitter.
Oh yeah, and your documentation stuff. Yeah, he had a good year.
I'm still angry.
Let's see what this lead is here.
Go ahead. Somebody's still hitting 70%.
On the first one, 72.5%.
That can't continue. And why isn't that person in Vegas? What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Go win you some real money.
I'm in 6th, and I'm at 56.3. So I'd be ahead of the juice, but I'm
Barely,
in 6th.
yeah. It's brutal, man. It's just brutal.
So if you were in that eliminator contest, right? Week 1, Jags 27, Colts 20. I mean,
I wouldn't have touched that game.
You wouldn't have? Straight winners.
I don't like either team. I don't think either of them are any good. I would have no.
Maybe you wouldn't have, but 60,
several
they'd
people
say
would.
the Jags, and they go, done. We're done here.
So let's do it for this week because it is. I think this week is hard.
Okay.
All right. So if you were going to do it for this week, you got to pick a guaranteed winner.
Just a winner, no number.
Just a winner, right?
All right, I'm pulling up the games.
It's not as easy as this week's not easy.
I'll tell you, it might be tomorrow night's game. That's the
Green
first
Bay
one.
against the 49ers.
Yeah.
But if the game's not played, and there are rules about that too, by the way, you can actually get hurt if the game's not played.
Well, you're screwed, or
you're
you've got the rest of the slate that's left.
No, you have a certain time to get it in by, but you got to come off that game, and if you don't, you lose if they don't play it.
Okay, I got it for you.
All right, so listen.
I can't use this team twice, though, so we're going to start from now?
Yeah, we could do that for now. So listen again. Let me just do this for our listeners' sake. All right, is there one game on here that you feel overwhelmingly good about, like that you say I got no chance to lose this game?
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to say the Chiefs and the Panthers?
No.
Okay, because here's the problem. Giants, Washington would not qualify.
No.
Bears, Titans would not qualify.
Nope.
Lions, Vikings
You'll
would
get
not
there.
qualify. Panthers, Chiefs would not qualify. Texans, Jaguars would not qualify.
Almost there.
Ravens, Colts
Nope.
would not qualify.
4:25 kick Sunday afternoon.
Steelers, Cowboys.
There it is. There it is. Start the game with Steelers over the Cowboys, and they're not even starting DiNucci. They're going to the other guy.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the game. Because think about how good the slate is, Tom, what I'm getting at. You wouldn't do it with Seattle, Buffalo. You wouldn't do it with Denver, Atlanta. No. You wouldn't do it with Raiders, Chargers. You wouldn't do it with Dolphins, Cardinals. By the way, the Dolphins are 4-3, everybody. You wouldn't do it with Saints, Bucks. And you wouldn't even do it Patriots, Jets. In fact, let me say this. You might be inclined to take the Jets at some point. If there were ever a week,
Right.
this might be it, right? Against the number. Against the number,
But if you're picking straight up winners, yes, the only game this weekend to play, the right answer,
only one.
Steelers over the Cowboys.
All right, so we're going to make that the Jeff Cameron Show play. Tom is correctly identified. We're not going against each other. We're just going to.
Okay.
This is about agreeing. Okay. Director Matthew is in. He's nodding yes. We've got that.
If you're going to play the game, yeah, Steelers over the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But you got to bet your life, essentially, quote unquote.
Yeah. Well, this
All
is.
right.
He's in.
Yeah, he might be betting his life too. Ours, salute to him.
Yeah. So he's not going to be here tomorrow or the next day, and Monday could be dicey. My man's getting mouth work done, teeth work done. He's got all kinds of problems. I got to yank his wisdom teeth, and he's got issues. So he's getting that done.
They're yanking a lot of teeth.
They're yanking a lot of teeth. We're wishing him well. I talked to him about it this morning. You told me. Now, here's the thing. I'll say this.
There was a 7-Eleven in town. I'd say just get you 6 Slurpees, put them in the freezer.
I haven't had a Slurpee since I was a kid, and you just made me want one.
Last time I had one,
I haven't had one since
Wisdom
I was
teeth got
riding down the road on my Mongoose in a BMX, and I pulled in off of 9th there in the 7-Eleven. I got a Slurpee, and I saw Doc Gooden in there getting a Slurpee at the same time.
the Mountain Dew Slurpee changed the game. And then the Code Red Slurpee, people from my time, they
Never
know.
had the Code Red Slurpee.
Teenagers' years and early college years are amazing because we could play hockey in the summer, July, for 2 hours.
Slurpee that baby to death.
And that's what you'd get at the end of it. You wouldn't get a water, you'd get a Slurpee, and you'd be fine.
Let me say this. So Matthew's getting his teeth ripped out. That means probably no YouTube tomorrow, probably no YouTube Friday. Sorry, but we lost our director. He's getting his teeth and his face worked on. Now, here's the thing I'll tell you. We talked about this morning. I thought about this when Clark had to go in and get his teeth pulled. Can you imagine these poor bastards during colonial times or before? I mean, Jesus, man. First of all, you died left and right. We in Savannah, we went to the old cemetery there that was closed down in the late 1800s or mid 1800s, and it's so few places in the United States that have real history, right? But you have people that moved here in 1733 dying in Savannah, right? And that graveyard ended up getting filled up. So we're walking around looking at colonial war heroes, basically. I mean, you want to talk about people fighting. It's incredible. Anyhow, so we loved it. But we were looking at the ages. Every family plot has 6 kids that died before the age of 4. Everybody's kids were just dead as a doornail. Small cold, dead. Yellow fever, dead. Malaria, dead. Got the flu, dead. I mean, toothache gets infected, dead. You're just done. So that was kind of prominent. Every plot, bunch of dead kids. And then the people who did survive their childhood during that time were eventually, they died at an old age of 37. You weren't going to be around to see your kids get old anyhow, and they weren't going to get old. Everybody was going to die. But I thought about their teeth. Man, if you've ever had a toothache, you know that is ungodly pain. The last toothache I had, and I had to go, it was impacted, and I had all this.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I was in so much pain while at the red light, I began to cry and didn't know I was crying. I was like Sean Penn in Mystic River. I didn't know I was crying. I was just sitting there talking, and I felt tears come down my face. I was calling my wife saying, call the doctors. I'm dying. And that's how much pain I was in. So good luck, Matthew.
Let's hope the Steelers pull it out for you.
All right, we got the Steelers. Final hour forthcoming. We'll make it caller number 3, 523-3776, 523-3776. Which, our friends from Which, we love them. I love them. Thank you, Which. And you will be saying thank you, Which. If you call right now, 523-3776, you win 2 Wickeds. It's Wicked Wednesday on the Jeff Cameron Show. Superior sandwiches from Which.
Always remember, don't use this thing on a Wednesday. Save more.
Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. I am pleased that you tune to this thing every day, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for doing that. A, it's my job, and I like my job, and I get to keep it the more you listen. But not only am I thankful for that, I love doing it, but you guys have kind of kept us sane. You really have. It's been tough times. Everybody's going through it, but knowing that you guys are tuning in and we're going through it together makes it a lot easier. I believe that to be true. By the way, we're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always, you can, anyhow, if that's what you want to do. You could go break out an old-timey radio, flicker on in the garage, clickety-click, put up that antenna, maybe get to work on that armoire you've been waiting to build or something, some such thing. I wish I could do that. That's peaceful. My granddad, he was a building Jesse. He would make huge dressers and chests and, beautiful.
Woodwork is one hell of a skill.
Our friend Matt Millar can do it. He can do. Well, I'm not saying he's like my granddad building massive.
He can do like Owen Wilson, and the parents.
That's one of my favorite scenes. I love that. But he can do some things. Yeah, I'm not going to give him that kind of love, but yeah, he's a Mr. Fix-It kind of dude and building kind of dude. Yeah, he can do that. He built a garden for himself. Now I know that's not hard. I couldn't do it, but a lot of people can do it. But he did. It looks great. Looks great. I've been
built
over
a
there
garden.
To see it. He did. He's got the wooden boxes that you set up.
Well, he would have everything having its own place.
Oh, without question. He's a man of order.
I'm sure when he rode the land at Epcot, he said, all right, so this is how you organize and spread out these types of plants.
Well, and for those that don't know what we're talking about, it's a mutual friend, a dear friend, and my former producer extraordinaire, Matt Millar, who taught Tom Lang, who's become my producer extraordinaire.
That's right.
But
we're on the B-Dub coaching tree.
Yeah,
Millar's first generation, I'm second generation.
But let me say this, that he likes things that are orderly. He's got a problem. It's not just that he's inclined to want things to be in a certain order. He would love Savannah, for example. They're all squares. Everything is square. But he's a guy that if you just, and this is, I admit to taking advantage of this, but only because I love him. If you tell him something's not working, that's all you got to say, because it's going to piss him off. That in the world, somebody he knows has a problem with something not working the way it's supposed to. So just saying, I can't get this thing to work the way that it should, guarantees that he's coming over to fix it himself. So if I try to put together something or buy something and it's not working the way it's supposed to, the first call to let them know that it's not working the way that it should be goes to Matt Millar. And it could be anything. Well, Matt, I've tried to download this thing for Bryce's computer. Hold on, I'm on my way over. That's how that goes. It's fantastic.
See, I did that in the beginning of my career doing the stuff that he did, the filings. And then about 2 years in, I realized I'm going to die. So trying to fix everything.
Yeah.
It's probably how Willie felt when he first walked in here. Or Mike has felt recently. He's like, I've got to do one thing at a time. And that's when I learned he has a special kind of resolve to still be on this planet and be able to do those things and fix those things so consistently.
He wants them done, man.
Because I've got to concede that I can't, or else I'm going to die of stress.
Right. Well, everybody's different. And you just got to know your strengths and weaknesses and everything in between. And I know my shortcomings, and I know what I don't know to a certain extent, right? Or I know that I can't do certain things, and I just don't even bother to drive myself crazy by trying to do something I'm not going to be able to do. I'm not talking about not trying new things. I'm talking about I know that I can't fix a damn thing. And with my hands, people that can do that, they can just look at something and be like, oh, well, this is how it works. You could take, any kind of like a piggy bank or something like that. You could just take it and drop it on cement. My stepdad would stare out there like freaking Rain Man and look at the pieces and be like, go get me the glue. And within hours, that thing is pristine.
Dun, dun, dun.
And it's unreal. He'll just sit there and look at it. And then you go bring him the glue, the super glue, son. It's in the drawer next to the filing
Not
cabinet.
the Elmer's glue. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, get the super glue. Yeah, and you bring it out there. 4 hours later, you walk out there. He's in the same position he was when you left him, and that thing is looking like it never broke. It's unreal.
These are the tinkerers of our time. Tinkerers.
Yeah, but you need those guys desperately. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that calls that guy. I see something break and I go, better call my stepdad. Let him know this thing's
Yeah.
broken.
Okay, so I don't remember the company, but they would do a lot of ads on golf weekends, and they're like, we don't make a lot of the things that you use. We make a lot of the things that you use better.
Right.
I'm like, well,
that's
a great job.
That's a great job.
That's who I
Yeah.
am. That's who I am. If I see something like, I can make it better by doing this. I can't build it, but if you put it somewhere, I'm like, you know what would make this better? I'm an improver. I'm not a tinkerer.
Oh, man. Well, that's my little doffing of the cap to our dear friend Matt Millar, who will fix anything.
Can he fix our defense? Is that
No.
bothering him? Can he get in the car and drive over to the stadium?
Back in the day, he had good lateral speed, I used to say. Matt did.
That would be useful in setting the edge.
Yeah, he had shortcomings. Overall, lack of physicality, short, straight ahead speed, no vertical. But he had decent lateral speed. Don't know that he could fix our defense, though, with just that skill.
But he might be able to teach setting the edge.
I think our coaches are capable of teaching that. I don't know that our players are capable of doing it or absorbing it, but I know that our guys can teach it. I know that runs counterintuitive. Like, well, if they're teaching it, Jeff, and nobody's learning it, then they're not doing a good job of teaching it. I'm not so sure. I wonder about the caliber of players we have. I frequently bring this up, and I hate being so dogged about the lack of skill on this defense. I know what recruiting rankings say. I know what I'm looking at. We're slow. We're slow, dude. That's the thing that drives me the most bonkers is we're slow.
Well, yes, there are thinking steps and then playing steps, but then there's also, you brought this up, I think, last week, like when we're saying, is it that simple that guys just need to be in their gaps?
Right.
When Jimbo would say that guys are just trying too hard, they're trying to do too much.
I roll my eyes about that.
Rather than doing their jobs. Well, I'm starting to believe it more and more because we've got, recruiting classes, plural, cycles of evidence of guys saying, the hell with my assignment, it's not going to work. And so they panic and they just try and do something else.
You know, it is an interesting point you bring up here. Coaches, for as long as I can remember listening to coaches and hearing coaches talk about their teams or their players, have oftentimes fallen back on this idea when something doesn't work, that somebody is just trying too hard. I don't know, man. I don't know if I believe that. I played organized sports, lots of them, for years. Now, I never got to the level of playing football at a big-time school like Florida State, not trying to insinuate that I did. But I don't know of anybody. I played with a lot of guys that did go to Florida State or big schools like it and on to the NFL. And I would just tell you, I don't remember anybody ever playing so hard that they screwed up, trying so hard that they screwed up. You can make errors. The other guy could just get the best of you. You could have a mental mistake where you before the play happens, you think you're supposed to do one thing when you're supposed to do another, and that either has to do with film study or you not knowing the playbook or just having a temporary mental lapse, and you'd get yelled at for that. And there are physical mistakes that you make. You could misjudge the speed of an oncoming receiver or back and take a poor angle. But I don't ever really recall somebody trying so hard that they just became this jumbled mess of ineffective movement. I don't think that's true.
Well, I think, okay, so I'm not hearing it the way they're saying it literally because coaches sometimes aren't communicators to the media the way they are to players when they're instructing. I'm hearing that they're trying to make the play. They're trying to do it themselves.
They're freelancing.
Right. Yes, they're trying to do it themselves because they know that others are failing, and so I've got to take it upon myself to do more.
Well, this is the way that Kelly What's-His-Face and the Bad News Bears played outfield, where I understand that
I'm going to run somebody over.
Yeah, I have to go to center field, and I'm the left fielder because he can't catch the ball. And you do see that in baseball a lot, especially Little League baseball. It's like, okay, my shortstop's dropped 4 in a row. If I see my third baseman cross the path, the face of the shortstop to make a play, that's just a kid who's tired of watching that other kid screw up, and he's intentionally stepping out of his lane to make a play because that guy can't make it. I don't know, man. Plays begin and end so fast in football that it's very difficult. I can't think of a time where I thought, you know what? Tim's not going to make that play, that sorry ass. I'm going to run over to where I think this is going because I know Tim ain't going to make that play, and I'm just going to forego my role in this defense or my role in this offense. One of the joys of playing football, and the reason that I found it to be somewhat less stressful than playing basketball or an individual sport like tennis, was because everybody, and this is why it's the ultimate team sport, has a job, a singular job on every play. Now, people who are really thoughtful football players know what everybody else's job is too. They don't necessarily try to affect that other than to do their job. So the thing is this. I know I have to be in this gap, that this is designed for this, because if I'm not, the play is ruined from the start. And that is pointed out to you a million times over from the first time you put on a helmet to the last. You mean to tell me we've got a bunch of guys that just decide, screw it, I'm not going to do what they told me to do all week long? I don't know if that is true.
Well, there are only a few explanations possible. Number one, the coaches can't coach it.
They're
Number
slow.
two, the players can't understand it. Like, fundamentally don't understand the words that are coming out of the coach's mouth. Well, no, I mean, because if you've got multiple years of this, or
but
what I
with
believe
different systems, yeah, go ahead.
is the most likely solution, which is number three. There are so many years of toxicity and a lack of trust within the group
Yeah.
that, yes, you have gotten to a point where I know that they're not going to make this play, so let me try and make something happen myself. They see Josh Kando flash out to the flats for a pick six and say, see, look at that. See what happens?
Well,
See
but that
happens
was
when
what
you use
he
your
was
brain?
supposed to do. He read the play.
Well, he told the coaches beforehand that I know what my assignment is to actually attack the quarterback or try and get back there. But, screw that, because I've seen it before.
Yes, but within an assignment, you have certain reads that if you recognize this, then you have to pursue that. Not everything is built into stone. I mean, you're set in stone.
Agreed, but when you see something like that work and you have the pour process that you have between your ears, you're going to freelance yourself.
But
Emmett Rice is telling you that it's happening. And I think it's happening in the front lines more than anything else.
My point is, like coaches always talk about leadership and all this other nonsense. You know I attack that word all the time.
Sure.
I do think it's an overused fallback excuse to why things don't work. Because you can't, as a coach, say, well, the kid just sucks. You can't say that. And I know he can't say that. I'm telling you that's the reason. A lot of these kids just suck. They're just not very good at this level. They're better than I could ever have dreamt being. I'm not saying that, and I'm sure they're good people.
Yeah, but
in some cases, they're just not any good.
Well, it's one thing to get blown off the ball.
It happens all the time.
It's quite another thing to vacate a gap, like a basic. That's where I'm taking issue. Yeah, I agree with you. If the line surges every time, like, listen, it was roller skates because they ran out of gas, but you could see it. Great example is, it's an easy one to remember, is 2010 Virginia Tech ACC championship.
Yeah, it was
game.
the worst, man.
Ran out of gas.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do about that.
No.
Can't be mad. Can't be
I
mad.
wasn't even mad. They just take their boys on roller skates.
But if at the snap they're running towards the opposite numbers on the field and they're running towards the flats, you'd say, what the hell is that?
Yeah, but that's what I don't know, man, because nobody coaches that. Nobody coaches that. Not Adam Fuller, not anybody. Rich Kotite may have been considered the worst coach in NFL history. I guarantee you he didn't coach guys to do things that are not fundamentally sound.
Okay, so here it is. I got it. It's a combination of two things, and it's not the coaching. We're testing our theories here on the air live.
Yeah.
All right, it is a combination of the crappy play, almost use a different word, for 4 years, and it's also I'm getting beat over and over
and
again.
I'm tired of getting beat.
I got to try to do something.
Yeah, that's why guys run around blocks.
Yeah.
Because they can't take it on. They're not good enough. They're not big enough. They're not strong enough. Or they don't want to. They
can't accept the fact that, I mean, if I do this every time, I'm going to lose every time.
Right,
so I've got to try and do something else.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're in the A gap and they're the defensive end. And you're like, what in the
It's a form of denial. Yeah. It's their pride effing with them. They're saying, I can't continue to lose. That makes me a loser. So I'm going to do this other thing, and then I can just say, oh, well, I mean, he didn't knock the hell out of me and move me out of the
who knows?
The play.
Maybe they call counter when it looked power, and I've got him right in the backfield. It's a loss of 3. Who knows? Maybe so.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Good Balls McWednesday, everybody. Should have some football to tune into tonight. I think a lot of people could use that, right? Let me double check this schedule, Tom. I know we don't have it on our airwaves. We possibly will have football tomorrow. We don't know yet, though, as the 49ers are a mess right now. They have had to shut their facility. They've got some positives for COVID. They've got a ton of injuries. I'm sure they're not.
Yeah, that may have been outright postponed. We haven't checked in a minute.
Yeah, so they've got, I haven't gone back and looked. You're right. But we got real problems with that game potentially. We'll see. But, I do know this. We have college football. And I went through that slate. Here it is. There it is. Hello.
6-pack of action.
Look at this, guys. That's all tonight, huh? 6 o'clock, Eastern Michigan and Kent. Western Michigan. And is that Arkansas State? Buffalo and Northern Illinois. Ohio. For dead in Ohio. CMU. Central Michigan University. Ball State. Miami of Ohio. Bowling Green and Toledo. Let's get it on. All right. I'll head out to a birthday dinner. I'll take in some damn football. Sit back and relax. Tomorrow, little Redemption Thursday action. Got wagers to get to.
Feels like the week has tilted. It's downhill now, isn't it?
It does feel that way. Just made my pick in the Houston Open for Sung J M because who's going to care about an event the week before the Masters? Sung J M will. That's right.
Well, who's playing to get in? Is Daniel Berger playing this weekend?
I don't think so.
Because I don't think he's
not getting in either way.
Either way?
Either way, I don't think he gets in. He's oddly been screwed.
Okay, so these events are counting for next April's Masters. So the
I
field
believe
has
the
already been set
field's
for.
pretty well set. Yeah, I think that's
Masters week, man. Masters week.
Yeah.
And you got to catch it or else it's gone. I don't mean in the proximity of
and
golf.
it's gone.
I'm talking about daylight. This ain't April.
No.
You got to catch it. Get down. Sit down. Early dinners.
So the field has plenty of big names this week. Dustin Johnson, Victor Hovland, Tony Finau, amongst others. Sung J M.
Headlines of field.
Yeah. Brooks Koepka's playing. Koepka's back, trying to get right. Adam Scott is playing in this event. You got your Lee Westwood's playing, Tom.
Is he really?
Yeah, he is.
Well, good for you, Lee.
Oh, Lee's hanging in there. Terrell Hatton, Lanto Griffin, Russell Henley. Yeah, it's a sort of good field. I mean, anytime you have Dustin Johnson, Tony Finau, and Victor Hovland and all those guys, that's good.
It's like powering up Wheezy. I've got to get the email out for the pool we're in, for the Masters pool.
That is correct. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, power rankings for this week. I'm just double checking that field again. Want to make sure.
Probably DJ.
Well, the field's not great if number 7 on that list is Stuart Sink.
Really?
Yeah, he's got to win this year. It's crazy. Stuart Sink's got to win on
the Champions Tour.
No,
or the PGA
on the
Tour?
PGA Tour. He became one of the oldest guys. He's 47 years old. By the way, this is nuts. He tied for 4th in Bermuda last week. He co-led the field in greens and regulation. He ranked tied for 2nd in par 3 scoring. He's got a win on tour this year. He's got 4 top 10s. Stuart Sink, everybody, has made a reappearance out of nowhere, and he's almost 50.
The Open champion. It's his last sprint.
Man, it is crazy.
You can threaten before 50 or right around 50.
Scotty Scheffler, Doc Redman are in this event. They both hit it a mile. There are 5 par 5s. So.
I never showed you. Look at that bird.
That's the bird.
That's the bird from Bermuda.
That's the bird.
Look at that.
Yeah.
You said Bermuda. I thought,
that's
amazing
that bird. You're going to hold that on your phone forever.
That thing's amazing.
It is pretty amazing. So did you catch that in the distance, or did they zoom in on it?
No, it was one of those establishing shots when they were doing
yeah.
promotional consideration, and here's the bird in the background, and they're telling you about Pacific Life.
Sure,
I was like, I don't care about Pacific Life. I care about this bird.
Just show me the bird. So you're settled into the new abode, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that. I'm happy for you because you get to watch sports out on that deck. I've been with you, your porch, I should say. That's so perfect back there. I don't want to reveal too much about your house. It's your house, but it's nice to be able to hang out there. I'm going to have to swing by the crib more often when you get those 2 TVs set up and this weather is so nice.
Well, it's kind of surreal. I'm like, this is mine? I get to have this? Yeah, you'll be welcome on the deck whenever you want.
I'll be hanging there. We had a discussion yesterday on Seminole Headlines. And then also on the War Chant Report, if you go to warchant.com, where I was simultaneously promoting the War Chant TV YouTube show that you do with Gene after the games, and also the one I do with you before the games, and that will happen again this weekend starting Saturday at 10 a.m., and we invite you to tune in.
Post-game show at a reasonable hour. Won't be after NC State. That's going to be a midnight, 11 o'clock midnight show.
Hopefully you're talking about wins in both cases because these are all imminently winnable games. But we were kind of getting into a discussion about, this is a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, chicken or the egg sort of thing, like how we're in the quandary that we're in. And one of those quandaries is, how is it that in a state in which wide receivers grow on trees, Florida State does, outside of Tamori and Terry, doesn't have anybody that can play? It really is stunning to look at the wide receiver depth chart. Warren Thompson, Brian Robinson, Darian Williamson, Ontario Wilson, Kentron Portier, Keyshawn Helton's a drop machine now, and he's hurt. You look around, Jordan Young has failed us. We don't have anybody that can play at wide receiver. It's unreal.
Yeah, and that's actually a trend for this program that dates back a long time.
Saw Auden Tate make a big catch in their win against the Titans over the weekend.
Really wanted him to come back for that next year.
You and me both.
Because he was somebody that was so easy to root for. I mean, he played
got better every year he was here.
Was it an AC joint injury?
He had all kinds of injuries. His elbow was falling off his arm, and he made that catch.
Yeah, for Blackman against Wake Forest.
Jinx,
Yep. And then he scored the first touchdown against Duke the next week. I mean, Wake Forest and Duke highlights. But that's where we were as a program 4 effing years ago, and we're still there. But even with Lawrence Dawsey, that was a talking point.
Well, he wasn't putting anybody in the pros.
Only KB gets drafted, and Rashad was great, and
that's
Kenny Shaw was reliable, but
the list ended at the first two.
Travis Rudolph was all right. Ermon Lane got shifted to safety.
He's better than any safety we have currently.
Now that's something to chew on.
Certainly
coming downhill and making a play.
Ermon actually played all right.
He came downhill. He was not afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's been kind of a low-level trend here, and now it's full-blown. At some point, are we going to have 2 or 3 receivers? We've turned into Florida, the University of.
Well, and now they do, but it's so aggravating. You look at this. I don't know if Joshua Burrell or Malik McClain, and do we have any other? I think there's the only 2 receivers in the class.
But think about that, too. Florida's been, they've had a dearth. It was Callaway, and he got in so much trouble they could barely keep him on the field. Right. And that's been about it. Now, they've got a couple of kids maybe on the way up, Tony and
and they also have the best tight end in the country.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that helps. We don't have we don't have a lot. This gets into the whole, listen, the offense isn't something to sit around complaining about because by and large we see the plan in place.
Pokey's been okay.
They've adapted with what they have. So we can see that they're coached well. The offensive line's coached well. We've got some running backs that we like. They're not special, but they're okay. And they play hard, and you can win with them. You get the most out of Jordan Travis when he's right. So the offense pretty much goes to the back burner. But what's lost when you do that is this thought that, man, how is it we don't have any receivers at Florida State University? It's just nuts.
Well, think about it, though. Look around the country. Who's got the best year in and year out
Alabama.
Receivers?
They come in and grab all your good receivers. Calvin Ridley's out of the state of Florida. They grabbed his
and they're not afraid of the depth chart
Yeah.
because they know one good year and they're going to get drafted. Doesn't matter that they don't play for 2 or 3 years. And they've got that system and they teach it and they recruit to it and everybody accepts it. That's okay. If I wait, no big deal. When I get my time, I'm still going to get my money.
All the time. I'm sitting over there looking at Alabama's receivers, and forever they didn't have a quarterback. They have them now, but they didn't for a long time. You'd be like, man, that's the best receiver. Julio Jones is a freak. I mean, you're looking around at these guys going, good God, look at Ruggs. Look at these guys every week.
So it's been Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State.
Ohio State, definitely.
And LSU, somehow, some way. Well, that's trending downward now. But they had a run for about 8 to 10 years where they had no quarterback themselves.
I know.
Neither Alabama nor LSU had quarterbacks, and yet they got these receivers. But where are they coming from? Largely here in
Florida.
the state.
Yeah,
South Florida specifically. We have no presence down there whatsoever.
No, that's another big thing about this is that you're going to have to promise a lot of playing time. You're going to have to make connections when things are available again, when you can talk to these coaches. I was talking to Gene Williams, warchant.com yesterday. He told me that, look, we were debating because I do think this is an interesting talking point. So these games that remain, aside from Clemson, you're going to get blown out by Clemson. They can name their score. But Pitt, NC State, Duke, Virginia, and Duke. I don't know that they'll win all four. We're not good enough to suggest they'll win all four, but you do kind of need to win 3 of the next 4, or 3 out of those 4, and finish. What would we finish, 6-6 or whatever? If you win a bowl game, if you get
something like
that. So
I don't even want to know our record right now.
Well, we're 2-4, right? Yeah, we're 2-4, and then let's say you win 3 more games, you got 5 wins.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're 5 and. But here's the thing. Like, I asked him, because he was saying it's of the utmost importance against these substandard offenses that they're facing, that the defense do enough that the offense, with a healthy Jordan Travis and Tamorian Terry's return, that they win these games because it'll help them in recruiting. And I questioned that. I said, I don't know that it will. And he said, what do you mean? I said, if we finish 5 and 7, what are you selling? What are you selling that's going to outdo Florida right now, or Georgia, or Alabama, or Clemson, or not much, right?
Yeah, no, but you're not looking at those programs. You're trying to outsell Louisville and Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
Correct.
And
correct. But the only way you got to get
Georgia Tech.
You're going to have to get a difference maker at some point, somewhere. We got to get a difference maker on offense.
They did in the portal, though.
Receiver.
They did with LaDamian Webb as a JUCO, right? I think he's a difference maker. Now, it's not the kind that's like Dalvin Cook or Kelvin Benjamin.
Oh, well,
we
those
can't
are
get there yet.
Generationally special players. I mean,
this is NCAA football, the video game. You've taken over a 2-star program. You're not going to get a yes.
I always did.
You're not going to get a yes. You might have, the A+.
Dude, I would take on Delaware, UConn, Army. I was always that guy.
Okay, so you take on Army.
Yeah.
And I think we're better than Army, but you take on Army. And remember, in that game, you'd have A+ program tradition.
Yeah.
Because of all the championships.
And you have to sell the hell out of it.
Right.
You're like, listen, come play for the Army. Yeah.
But the facilities are F. I mean, the weather's F. The TV exposure is F.
Mitchie Stadium, whatever that is. I love that place, man. I got to go see a game there.
So you've got to get incremental yeses and then coach the hell out of them. We need to be a program of developers. That has not changed. That was my goal in the preseason. That's still the goal. I hope we are. I certainly believe we are on offense. I think we've got developers there, and we've got guys who know how to game plan around weaknesses. Okay, that's good on offense. On defense, are we a program of developers? Because we need to be. We're not going to get that game-changing pass rusher anytime soon.
But you better hit the hell out of that transfer portal and be willing to pay big bucks for that guy that can hold you up until you get there while you develop some of these youngsters, because Miami did it. Now, they were sorry. They were just sorry last year. Thanks for the 0 points in the bowl game. Thanks for the 2 points in the game before that. I mean, they're terrible. And they went and got DeAndre King, or De'Aaron King, or however the hell. De'Aaron King. They went and got that the 2 defensive ends, the tackle. They got a bunch of guys.
One from a low-level school.
Temple.
Yep.
Yeah, no, they did. They did. They went and got some guys that could play, and it changed who they were and who they are. Now, they're still not great, but they're good enough.
But if we were in their position, we'd say, all right, upward mobility.
Yes, exactly.
You can launch from here.
It's going to have to be that, man. My goodness. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Wrapping it up. Front Row Knows coming up next. You guys tired? Everybody a little bit tired? Mentally and physically a bit exhausted today as you're driving home? I think that's most of America right about now.
I'm proud of myself. I went to bed early. For an election night, I went to bed early. If you can make it to bed asleep, not lying in bed and strolling stuff, by 11:30, before midnight, you've done yourself a service.
You know, I've really attempted in the last few months to leave. This is a bit of a quandary, and I think I know the answer based on what you just said. But we all know, and it's been proven and studied, it's not good to have your cell phone next to your bed when you go to bed, just like it's not good to have the TV on. A lot of us do that too. But it's worse with the phone, and there are many factors for that. But the problem is most of us don't own a house phone anymore. So you do need to be able to be reached in case of an emergency. And if your parents are elderly or there are people in your family who are vulnerable that you would maybe need to field a call from, you kind of have to be able to be accessed. And so on the one hand, I know that the temptations are too many, that the blue light from your phone is not good in terms of trying to get restful sleep and all of that.
Talking about your eyes.
Yeah, all that. I know what it does in terms to your brain and how it ratchets it up and you can't calm it down and then it creates, anyhow. So what do? I mean, I did this thing where I took my phone and I left it out on the kitchen counter for like 3 nights. But then the next day I'd have a text from a dear friend from California wanting to ask me a question, or it's not an emergency, but you get the point. There would be things that I thought, well,
that used to be on your answering machine, and you get back to him when you get back to him.
That's right.
If I could do 3 things right now, 2 of them would be in sports and 1 would be in life. I'd have robot strike zones, number 1. Number 2, I'd take away the stop clock on a first down in college football. All of these games are taking way too long now. Mm-hmm. Stop it. Number 3, I'd return to home phones and pay phones. We'll be okay. It's okay if you don't call somebody when you're in the car.
It'll
correct. Be all right.
Well, it's also okay to sit.
Right.
Like, you don't have to pick up your phone. You're allowed to sit quietly. Just sit. People can't do it.
Yeah.
They can't do it. Watch how quickly somebody sitting by themselves with nobody to talk to and nothing to do. Watch how quickly somebody grabs their phone. Oh, it's almost instantaneous.
It's like a security blanket.
That's right. Yeah. And you know, so you're tethered. And it is hard. I mean, obviously we know the effect it has, but it's really difficult. On the one hand, and again, cell phones do make things a lot easier, even safer. I mean, obviously, if you're traveling great distances, it's good to have your cell phone on you, and so
that Bryce, used to be you'd buy international minutes when you travel,
right?
Or state to state minutes.
I had to do that when I went to London. Yeah. But it's weird. I don't know how to remedy the thing about just setting up a peaceful place to go to bed and not have your phone in the room and not turn on. I mean, I struggle with that. And I, me. I mean, first of all, I was one of the last guys to get a cell phone. Matt Millar used to make fun of me forever. Everybody had a cell phone. Old ladies had a cell phone, and I didn't have a cell phone. I held out as long as I could, Tom. I fought the good fight. But eventually I saw how pragmatic it was.
Sure.
And the simplistic nature of a text oftentimes really is more useful to you and getting the most out of your day rather than picking up the phone and having to call somebody.
Yes.
So, it's impersonal. But a simple, can you pick up milk, does not require a phone call. Just text me that. That's useful, and it's time-saving.
Yes, but when you're trying to have meaningful communication...
Oh, well, you can't do it in a text.
No,
you can't do it in an email either.
It will never be absorbed the way you think it's going to be absorbed. It's the telephone game.
Of
no
course
pun intended.
Right, because you can't read, the inflection.
Yeah.
And also, obviously people struggle to read sarcasm in a text or an email, right? And then it gets misconstrued, and the next thing you know, you're in an argument. Like, no, I was kidding. I wasn't serious. I thought you knew me better than that.
My God, that's quite the personal response, too. You've been waiting for this. Why?
And you're like, oh, my God, it was in passing. It was
it's
so quick.
Gone.
Yeah, and it's gone. Right. No, it's brutal. I don't know what to do with that. Maybe I will get a house phone.
So
I'll return to the house phone.
Well, it's certainly, I think this entire country would agree, it would be great for work to have a house phone because then the expectations of an email popping up at 7:42 and
Right.
you have to respond to it by 8:30 in the morning. Haven't you seen this?
Yeah, that's the other. No.
And even if I did, I'm ignoring it. You know why? I'm off the effing clock.
David Sampson, the former president of the Miami Marlins, was and is an endurance runner, right? He completed many Ironmans, like the actual Ironman in Hawaii. He's done that, right? He's badass when it comes to that stuff. Now, he's tough to stomach when you're around him, and I've been around him, actually, but he's a really smart guy. He also loves to run, and he trains year-round. He's also a father. And he told the Miami Marlins employees, look, man, I get to work every day at 5 a.m. I am here. If you need me for anything, I'm here at 5 a.m. My email is open. My phone is on. And I leave here at 6. So it's a long day at the office. But here's what I won't do. Pick up the phone or answer an email anytime before or after that time. So you have me, which I think is fair, from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m.
13 hours.
That's
My
a
God.
lot. Yes, because he would get up and train at like 4 a.m., finish his run, shower up quick, be at the stadium, and there he is. He's there the rest of the day doing work. Now, you're a president of an organization that big and you're making millions of dollars. You kind of have to be available. But the only people that could get a hold out of him after hours were either family or people that he considered family, best friends. Like, hey, if I got a house phone, Tom, you'd have the number. Not many would, but you would. I'd answer a call from you and my mother and my wife and my kids and a few other people. That's about it. That's about it. And maybe that is the answer.
Well, I can tell you that originally when we bought our 50-inch television, which was, I mean, it's a good bedroom size, right?
It's a perfect bedroom size.
Yeah.
I have a 55-inch in my bedroom.
There you go. Probably got more distance between the bed and the wall because that's the key is the ratio of the distance.
I knew. I figured that out when I got my 82-inch television.
We hardly watched it. It's hardly on. And so when COVID happened and sports were coming back, I just moved it down to the living room. So we had two down there because, every night there were two things going on. It was awesome until recently. And we're not moving it back.
No,
it's not going back.
No, it's peaceful.
It is. It's really peaceful. I wish I could. You know what? I could. There's no wishing. You just do it. Buy an alarm clock and leave the phone downstairs. Just buy a normal alarm clock, old school.
I can't stand them. I will not wake up to an alarm clock. First of all, my eyes open these days, so I don't need to.
Yeah.
Secondly, I can't stand it. It's a terrible way to start your day. Unless you've got one of those good alarm clocks that kind of go, woo,
Right.
or whatever they do. Right?
You can get the white noise ones.
Yeah. That's fine. Give me the sun coming up in a breeze in a creek or something. All right. But anything that goes, nope. That's just not right. There's no reason to have that in your life. When I hear it in radio ads, I flip it immediately.
You want to punch your own testicles.
It's awful. I do. So I won't do that. I have an alarm clock in my room. I never set it. And if I have to be up at some ungodly hour, even earlier than I normally get up, I do set it on my iPhone to be that do, like at 4, or something like that. If I was catching a flight somewhere, maybe that's it.
Birds chirping, something like that.
Something like I can't do it, man. There it is. You do a good job of that. I'll record that, put that on my phone. That'll be my alarm. You going? I can't do it, man. And listen, I will say this. I'm guilty of the very thing that I loathe. I do have a TV, 55-inch television, in my room. I do turn it on when I go to the back. But here's the thing, our continued conversation about getting old. I go to bed early. So it kind of offsets this, hey, we're going to bed to sleep right now thing. If I were going to bed at 11:30, I won't turn the TV on. I got to get to sleep now because I'm going to get up at 5. So I just go straight to sleep. But these days, man, unless Bryce has a baseball game or, we're playing family movie night or something, I go to the back around 9:30. I'm not ashamed. I'll kiss my wife and say, I'm going to the back. And then I flip it on, but I set the timer.
But I also get how this sounds, and every generation does this thing because the generation before, about probably your grandparents' age, would say, does the TV need to be on at all times? Why is the TV on at all times? Can we just turn the TV off and sit here?
Yeah.
Maybe listen to music like a family?
Yeah, or talk.
Maybe play the piano and sing songs together?
Now we're going back to the 1800s where we're going to gather around and dance and have a little hoedown here.
My dad,
Grandma's going to play the piano.
My dad as a kid, they had music nights. The family would come over. They'd all play different instruments.
I think that's awesome. If you've got a family full of people that can play an instrument, that's great. We don't. None of us can play a damn thing.
Well, it's a numbers game. My dad was one of 11, and his mom and dad were Catholics.
Yeah,
the Catholics
a lot of
have
kids,
a lot
yeah.
of people.
Well, here's the thing. All of us can play basic things. I can keep time on drums. I can play some chords. Bryce can play a little bit better than most of us on the piano. Christy can too. She can sing. But it wouldn't be a very long engagement to the Cameron family playing instruments.
But I got to tell you, one of the most
Here's me playing chopsticks.
football season is tense, and then we had a move, and that's tense. But one of the most satisfying nights in the last 3 or 4 weeks, Jamie and I played a board game.
Oh, we do that.
No TV.
We do that all the time. Yeah.
Board game.
We play board games.
Maybe a little bit of a single malt on the side.
It could happen.
That was,
Might have
simple.
two, yeah.
Simple.
No, it's
Not
that's-
doom scrolling.
No,
Not
no.
watching every 10th vote that comes in and say, see, now I'm right.
If our regional overlords decided to really look after everything we did in terms of promoting the station and getting our quote-unquote brand out there, I would be fired. Because the older I get, the further removed from all social media I go. And I encourage all of you to unplug. It's not healthy. It's dividing the country. We can't agree on anything, and we're being manipulated by those that developed those apps and those algorithms. That's proven. They've admitted it. So do yourself a favor and not dive into that rabbit hole and become either encased with tribalism and echo chambers to the point where you can't have a conversation with somebody who disagrees with you. Or just, you're absolutely capable of functioning without the phone in your hand, without a computer in your lap, without a text or an app of any kind. You can do all those things. Like play a board game. It's
Right.
possible.
But when it does break, phoneherotlh.com. Phoneherotlh.com.
I'm not saying get rid of your phone. I'm saying so it's like I've grown to where I see, in my opinion, I see what it's doing to us. And I'm a people person. So it really does bother me. It really bothers me and we've talked about this a lot. This is long before election night, folks. The level of discourse between people in a conversation regarding their politics, their religion, their beliefs about anything
Sports.
has elevated to an uncomfortable level of hostility that you get to where you no longer want to embrace that form of humanism, right? That social interaction that binds us leaves us hurting a lot of times, and you decide then to just not even engage.
Well,
it's brutal.
and that's where sports discourse mirrors news media, and we all know that. But it's the same thing. Like, you could be at the bar, and you could be on the deck right now having a debate with somebody about Florida State's quarterback situation and should they stick with Jordan Travis or Chubba Purdy. What we've learned to do over the last 10 to 12 years is wait to respond, not listen to ponder and consider.
Right.
You're just waiting for the pause to respond so that your point can be made. You're not listening to what the other person's saying. That's just a line break for you.
Yeah.
You're waiting. Well, here's why Chubba Purdy should be the
Yeah,
quarterback.
right,
I don't
right,
care
right.
that you give me any reasons that Jordan Travis elevates to play the defense or vice versa.
But I also think it's bigger than that. I think you're right. And when you're engaged in that kind of one-way conversation. But I also think that the level of intensity and the emotions, the heightened sense of aggravation, the little push-button moments of a conversation have been escalated and elevated to a place where you can feel it. You can feel it, the turmoil inside when somebody says something that you disagree with.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to be a grown-up because we're not all going to agree on things. And that's absolutely okay. And it's important to hear the other side. But I can feel it even within myself when I'm having these conversations. Not to the point where I want to attack them or anything like that, but where I hear it and I'm triggered, as the kids say. And I don't, luckily, I'm a grown-up, and I go, all right, let's relax. Let's think about what they just said. Now, let's respond. But you still feel that inner turmoil.
Yeah, well, time was that you'd be at the dinner table for Thanksgiving or something, and it would happen once every 5 years.
Right,
And you're like,
yeah. Uncle Ted said
okay.
something crazy.
And everybody kind of reaches and scratches the back of their head.
and they
like,
look around like,
all right,
okay.
more cranberry sauce, please.
And Pa's gone nuts.
Right. Or, in my family, I had 3 older sisters. It was going to happen every 6 months or so. I thought we were pretty good. We didn't have too many dust-ups, but it was going to happen every once in a while, and everybody has the same look, that awkward look. It's almost like, do you remember the macaroni grill?
I do.
Okay.
I think it still exists. No,
In some places, not
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
unfortunately.
No, I
'cause
remember it here.
Their bread was, I mean, I know bread's not the greatest thing, but if you're
Yeah,
going to have
it's
something,
good.
you have the Macaroni Grills bread. They'd have the opera singers come over to the table. That was always an awkward thing.
Yeah.
Always incredibly awkward because they'd be singing these beautiful songs that are really sad or
Yeah.
emotional or whatever, and everybody's they don't know what to do. They're just kind of sitting there like, I can't touch my drink, I can't touch my food.
I don't know what to do,
appreciate
yeah.
what's going on here,
Yeah.
but
At the same time,
happy birthday music, mariachi, wherever you go, same thing. You have that same feeling. Everybody's like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know what to do this. Now that's so normal. Now wherever you go, that happens all the time.
I'm uncomfortable.
It
I'm
happens
uncomfortable. I'm
all the
uncomfortable.
time.
Yeah. It's weird. Well, you just noted birthday music, so here you go. Bryce Cameron, my 13-year-old boy today. That's right. Bryce turns 13. Many of you have been so kind over the years and followed his journey via my conversations on these airwaves. Many of you sent nice emails, and you've seen him out and about and have had a chance to meet him. He's probably listening right now as his mother has picked him up, and I'm about to go meet them for dinner. But I just wanted to say that I love you very much, son. I'm very proud of you. Welcome to the teenage years. I'm not sure I'm looking forward to them as much as you probably are, but I'll be here.
Run, big brother, your life isn't hell.
I'll be here to take it all in, and I'll await your return.
Run, big brother, your life isn't hell.
As you continue to further push your father and mother away, as is the natural order of things, I'll be right here when you come to your senses and figure out we're not all, as he would say, boomers.
Run, big brother, your life isn't hell.
Happy 13th birthday, son. Love you. Good work, Tom. Good work, Matthew. And the Front Row Knowles are up next. Should be a good listen as always, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.